Hello, I bring the Charlottesville City Council meeting, business meeting back into order. And is there a motion to come out of closed meeting?
Yes, I move that this council certify by a recorded vote that to the best of each council member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, did you want us to vote electronically or?
I've initiated the vote.
Oh, I see, yes. Just for the public's notice, Michael is with us virtually. He is in Charlottesville. He had issue with his toe, and it's difficult for him to get around, but he will be joining us virtually. So Michael did support that as well. Let's see.
Do I need to move these?
Yes, for the
Okay.
PCOB.
Yeah, we met to review applications for the PCOB, and I would move the approval of Albie Lefebvre and Rory Vaughn to serve on the PCOB.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? If not, can we vote? The motion passes 5-0. We will now begin the meeting with a moment of silence, and as we begin, I would like to recognize the passing of a icon in the community, one of my mentors, Mr. Eugene Williams. He passed away on Saturday. So if we could have a moment of silence as we begin. Thank you very much. They have not heard any arrangements for his funeral yet, but I'm sure that they will be well public when they do become become available. A couple announcements is that we have several boards and commissions open. We have one in particular, the Planning Commission, the unexpired terms of Rory, which will end on 8/31/27. Is anyone interested in Planning Commission or other commissions or boards, please apply for them. Are there other announcements? If not, we have Charlottesville has been officially accepted to the Biophilic City Network. It's a global community of cities whose leaders and residents recognize the importance of connection between humans and natural world. In practice, these cities is one that is intentional about integrating green space into urban environment, conserving existing natural areas, and fostering improved connection of nature for all. And this is the Office of Sustainability is here to provide more information on this. Is someone here to speak on? Oh, yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephen Gaines. I'm the urban forester with Charlottesville Parks and Recreation. So some months back, the city did seek approval from council to apply to join the Biophilic Cities Network, a global community of partner cities committed to planning and designing our communities with abundant access to nature for residents, and thus encouraging a sense of belonging, understanding, and stewardship of the natural world. In partnership with Charlottesville's Office of Sustainability, Urban Forestry, and Water Resources, the city was able to submit an application, and as of last month has been formally accepted into the network. It does make good sense that Charlottesville, Virginia be included in this network. Charlottesville is the city where the concept was first conceived and is where the headquarters is located. In its simplest description, being a biophilic city allows Charlottesville's inclusion to global conversations where creative solutions are being discussed and implemented on a range of issues that are most certainly on the horizon of Charlottesville's population and need for functionality and capacity increase. We are fortunate tonight to be joined by Dr. Mona El-Shafif from the UVA School of Architecture and J.D. Brown, the current program director of the Biophilic Cities Network. And we are very appreciative of all the incredible support, and we're very glad to have our application be received. So,
Thank you. Does someone else want to speak? I know we wanted to get a picture. Does someone want to speak?
Bethany, we're probably good for a picture.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Is this something we keep?
That is for you.
All right.
Hey. Put it on the mantelpiece.
So are there any more announcements, councilors? If not, we will go to the first opportunity for public matters. We have 8 pre-registered speakers, and then we'll open it up for 8 others, and then there will be an opportunity at the end for additional speakers. The first speaker that we have, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name and your residence, is Josh Karp. Yes, and you can use either one of these stands, yes.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, council and staff. My name is Josh Karp. I live in Fifeville, and I run the local e-bike library in my free time. Over the past 3 years or so, I've lent out about 600 bikes to people in the community, and I talk to every bike borrower in person. And a common topic during those talks is how to navigate our city, in particular streets like West Main Street, safely on a bike. At first glance, West Main Street looks like a safe place to ride a bike. There are bike lanes continuously from 10th Street to Ridge in both directions, so what's the problem? Well, the bike lanes are narrow, and they're often next to parked cars. And if one of those cars opens their door into the bike lane, you can crash into the door or be knocked into oncoming traffic, either of which is bad news. Actually, just a few weeks ago, an experienced cyclist was riding with his child on West Main Street on a cargo bike and was hit by a door, and luckily wasn't hurt seriously, but very scary situation. So in my opinion, I don't think the West Main Street bike lanes are safe to use. And so I myself, and I advise people I talk to through the bike library to skip them and ride in the lane instead for visibility and for safety. I'm here to speak to you tonight because we have a chance as a city to do something about this that we won't get very often and at a low cost. So as I think you all know, Utilities is going to tear up, I think, most or all of West Main over the next few years for water and gas work. This is a rare chance to reconfigure the street while we're at it without paying extra money to tear it up again, divert traffic and so on, because we're already doing all of that for the utility work. I've asked staff in a few departments if there are plans to reconfigure or consider reconfiguring West Main Street as part of this project, and I don't think there's a clear plan that's been released to the public so far, at least. It sounds like we're going to tear the road up and then paint back the same lines that we have today, which, like I said, I don't think are safe to ride a bike on. And I think if we don't do better than that, it'll be a serious missed opportunity. If we don't reconfigure the lanes during this project, it'll cost more money to do it later if we do it at all. So I'm here tonight to ask all of you to make sure that the staff have time to study reconfiguring West Main Street as part of this project. I don't know if I'm supposed to ask questions of you during this time, but I do want to ask anybody on the dais or any staff who are here for the meeting to let me know either now or follow up later if you all can consider planning for reconfiguring for bike safety on West Main as part of this project. I would take a yes or a thumbs up or email me later. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Laura Sagani? Sagani, I'm sorry.
Thank you. My name is Laura Sergani. I live in the Fry Spring area. Last month, Charlottesville residents came together in a united voice to this hall. They packed the entire hall and out the door. There was only standing room out in the hall by the time I got here. And they were united in their rejecting the anti-camping ordinance that was proposed by Chief of Police Coaches. And they also came to speak out generally against the targeting and criminalization of our unhoused neighbors. Community members of all walks of life demanded sustainable, meaningful, and respectful housing solutions for our most vulnerable neighbors. While the city has been discussing a low-barrier shelter for the future, the temps are already getting close to freezing at nights. And I am talking to people regularly who are begging me for resources to stay warm. So obviously, we need solutions now. In the past month, what has the city done to answer this united call from the community? Well, they've agreed to spend $1 million to get outside contractors to do cleanup, which is dubious, and they are obviously using those who are pressuring them to hire these contractors for further policing of the downtown mall area instead of using this $1 million for housing services or to support local employment if there is a need for further cleanup. I know a lot of unhoused people who would be happy to have that work. Moreover, while the city has tabled the anti-camping ordinance itself, the police have quietly amped up their targeting of unhoused residents all over the city, and I've seen this firsthand. Camping residents have been ordered to move with nowhere to go under increased threats of arrest, and those who take shelter on the streets have been facing increased police harassment, citation, and arrests. I've also seen this firsthand. And when the police have been confronted with this, they have cited, quote, from the police, a directive from the chief of police to escalate enforcement against the unhoused due to, quote, business concerns raised at city council. So my questions are, what city council meeting did Chief Coaches attend? And what does this city council answer to? Do you answer to this community or a handful of mean-spirited business owners? We keep the businesses open. We work here, we shop here, and we take care of each other, and we answer to each other. We demand transparency and accountability. We demand that the city use our resources to provide affordable housing and community resources and end criminalization. While a low-barrier shelter would be an improvement, it would not be an excuse for further policing, and the city must work with the unhoused themselves who know what they need. I have been privileged to work with many of the unhoused residents here who have demonstrated community care and community building. It is time to follow their lead, end policing, and start taking care of each other.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alex Joyner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Alex Joyner. I'm a resident of Albemarle County, pastor of Charlottesville First United Methodist Church, and co-president of Impact Charlottesville. I'd like to address two items that are on your agenda for tonight. The purchase of 2000 Holiday Drive to use as a low-barrier shelter for the unhoused, and plans for another transportation study. The church I serve is one of the founding congregations of Pacham, which has been providing cold weather, low-barrier shelter for over 20 years in the buildings of hosting churches. Pacham served 298 unique guests in the last season, and that doesn't include folks who were turned away due to lack of bed space. Counts of the unhoused population in the area show that we have seen a year-to-year increase of at least 50 persons, or 28% over 2024. When the council declined to implement a camping ban last month, there seemed to be a general recognition among the councilors that such a policy would not answer the question of where people were to go if they were removed from public spaces. This purchase is not a total answer, as Mr. Sanders has said, but this plugs a gap in services, and I appreciate the attention this is getting. I would urge the city to continue working with the nonprofit world to find the right leadership for this effort. I do want to note that should that location be used for a shelter, there'll be a critical need for adjusting the bus routes to connect guests at the shelter with services in other parts of the city, since it is an isolated area. Currently, the fastest bus line between Holiday Drive and downtown is the number 8 line, which runs only once an hour and doesn't have service after 6 p.m. Disabled guests will also need transit options to get from the facility to the bus stops, as especially the ones coming downtown are a long way from that location. Which brings me to my second statement in the last minute here. On July 21st, we heard from the City Director of Transit about what kinds of improvements would be needed to get to 30-minute wait times system-wide on CAT. Impact, my organization, has been pushing for 82 funded drivers based on figures from Mr. Williams' office. And on July 21st, we learned from him that it would take 90 drivers now to get to that level of service and 108 to get to expanded hours and Sunday service. And in July, we had 66 drivers. Here's what I see. The $650,000 transportation study you're considering tonight could provide a year's worth of service from 8 new drivers. I also see and appreciate the appeal to the legislature for $3.5 million for 3 years to improve service, but I wonder, where is the urgency for the people who are waiting for the bus right now? I urge you to prioritize driver recruitment and funding over additional studies. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Susan McCulley. Susan McCulley.
Good evening. I'm
Good
Susan
evening.
McCulley. I'm a resident of the county and a property owner in the city. Since April, the City Council has heard stark warnings about the fragile state of our democracy. The attacks on the constitutional order have been relentless. Birthright citizenship and equal protection under the law granted by the 14th Amendment still hang in the balance. The sovereignty and authority granted to the states in the 10th Amendment face repeated assaults with deployment of National Guard and active duty military personnel. We cannot count the number of people who have lost the Fourth Amendment right to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures because of widespread surveillance and data collection that goes hand in hand with the failure to provide due process granted by the Fifth Amendment. The federal government continues to double down on its efforts to execute the largest mass deportation in history. From the beginning, it failed to target individuals with violent criminal backgrounds. ICE and cooperating agencies are sweeping up anybody they can get their hands on. The administration has made it clear that it will not stop with undocumented immigrants, but will use ICE and the DOJ to threaten us all. In spite of the onslaught, this body has not considered the anti-ICE resolution presented in July or even offered to make a statement of principle on behalf of our immigrant and refugee neighbors. Are you demanding the best from yourselves and from everyone who lives and works here? Are you listening to the stories of our immigrant neighbors, our unhoused neighbors, our West Haven neighbors? Are you inviting empathy and solidarity and encouraging all of us to feel pride for being on the right side of history? We ask you to model decency. We ask you to call us all up and push for urgently needed moral progress. We ask you to demonstrate moral vision and leadership. Because if the institutions built to protect democracy falter or fail, then the burden falls on ordinary citizens, pro-democracy advocates, and independent voices willing to stand up. For us, silence is not an option because it normalizes the unacceptable.
Thank you. Kevin?
Hello, my name is Kevin Cox. I live on Fairway Avenue. For years, speed limits in Charlottesville have been determined using as the primary criteria the so-called 85th percentile rule. That means that a speed limit should be the same speed that 85% of drivers would drive if they were unencumbered by a speed limit or conditions. That's not good for streets, okay? It doesn't take into account a lot that streets have. And fortunately, this is changing. New guidelines have been adopted by the feds in 2024, and those guidelines have been copied by the state and will be adopted by VDOT in 2026. It's important that the city adopt those guidelines for the city traffic engineering study protocol. And this is why. Using the 85th percentile as the primary rule means not enough consideration was given to the environment of the roadway. That is, are there pedestrians and crosswalks, cyclists, bike lanes, bus stops, buses, playgrounds, all kinds of things. Cherry Avenue from Roosevelt Brown Boulevard to Ridge Street includes Tonsler Park, one of the most popular parks in the city, the Salvation Army Thrift Store, people walk there, the Independence Resource Center, people cross Cherry Avenue in wheelchairs to get to that, okay? Ironically, in front of Tonsler Park, there's an orange sign suggesting a speed of 25 miles an hour, but the speed there is 30, and it should be reduced to 25. As we continue on Cherry, we cross Ridge and hit Elliott, and the name changes to Elliott, and the speed changes to 35 miles an hour. It's 35 all the way down the hill to 2nd Street that goes into Ix. That is through the intersection of First Street and Elliott Avenue, which is a historically very dangerous intersection, and we all know that. A new traffic engineering study that includes the new guidelines is needed, though, to reduce the speed. Please work with the city manager to have the new protocols adopted, and the new study done. JPA. The speed limit on JPA from Old Lynchburg Road to Fontaine is 30. That's too fast. But then, when you go from Fontaine to Emmett Street, through the intersection of Shamrock Road, it's 35. That's ridiculous, okay? On the right, you have parked cars. On the left, cars speeding by, bike in the middle. Like he said, you get doored or you get rammed by somebody drifting into the other lane, okay? It's up to you, though, to pursue this, and I hope you do. I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
Good evening. My name is Joy Johnson, and I'm the FAR Board Chair. You know why I'm up here again, y'all. You just know. I'm up here for several reasons, but I'm here about LV Collective. City Council must change the zoning code to prevent these luxury high-rise apartments from being built around our low-income, historically black neighborhood. And we need more than one opportunity to comment on the by right buildings, which is currently only at the BAR. There are also folks here tonight supporting other unhoused neighbors, so I wanted to voice my support as well. People should not be homeless in this city, period. And they really shouldn't be homeless because of UVA expanding into our neighborhood like cancer. As of June 25, UVA has an endowment of $15.5 billion, and they get inflation adjustment return and their investment. Meanwhile, workers' wages have stagnated, and UVA real estate holdings are valued at $532 million in the last fiscal year. UVA Health made a total of $3 trillion in net hospital collection. That's net. They made $3 trillion in profit, and UVA doesn't pay one single penny in taxes, and they don't trickle down any of that wealth to their workers. The lowest paid UVA workers make $35K. But the living wage in Charlottesville is calculated to be at $52K. Community members are hurting. It is too expensive to live in this town. We can't survive out here because you're all feeding us to wolves. To UVA, multi-billion-dollar developer, U.S. City Council needs to put people over money. I also want to say that this has been the 5th time I've been to City Council meeting. For organizers, community members, everybody has been here speaking, but there's no acknowledgement, nothing. At least the Planning Commission, one person will say, I think what they've been coming to talk to us about, we should respond. City Council needs to change the zoning code to prevent luxury building. I'm going to reiterate that again. UVA is expanding into our neighborhood, but they don't pay taxes. $15.5 billion endowment, $532 million in real estate holding, $3 trillion in hospital bill collection. UVA is not trickling down wealth. lowest paid workers paid $36K, living wage is $52K. Come on now. Please, you have to start listening to us. Wages, I mean, every day, it seems like when I go to bed at night, when I wake up, buildings are just going up. Like when we go to sleep, they're going up. One across Men's Gym, I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then Jefferson Park Avenue, all the way out there building. So why do they need to encroach in the low-income communities? I'm just begging you all to, one, at least acknowledge, like the gentleman was saying, acknowledge, please say something. We come here every week because we want to make sure that you're hearing us. Thank you.
Joy, I just want to let you know that rest assured that we do hear your concerns and concerns of the residents that have been speaking and the students and the emails. We hear you.
Thank you.
We hear you. The next speaker is Andrew Nealing. Hope I pronounced the last name. No, I'm sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Andrew Knighting, and I live in the Rio District of Albemarle County. And I'm here speaking on behalf of United Campus Workers of Virginia UVA Living Wage Campaign. Union contracts mean higher wages, and higher wages mean stable housing. Surprise. We urge you to get the legislator to allow us to bargain and pressure the university to recognize our union. We hope you keep this in mind when you decide to hold up your agreements with the City Bus Drivers Union, the ATU. As we struggle towards establishing a living wage for all workers at UVA, we trace the impacts of stagnant wages and the cost of living to the housing crisis. Many of us have to drive from as far as Buckingham, Waynesboro, just to have a job that might cover our rent. We pay for it in time spent away from our family, our friends. We pay for it in severance from our communities, in travel costs, and in our health. You've heard from the community members from FAR, from the students of Friends of FAR at UVA, and now you will hear from the workers of UVA. We do not want LV Collective's luxury housing project. We know trickle-down housing does not work. We know it damn well. It does not lower rent for low-income working families. The transformation of historically black affordable neighborhoods into wealthy luxury neighborhoods further burdens affordable housing stock and increasing housing costs on very low-income families. Because of stagnant wages and the rising costs of living, we've been forced from or prevented from becoming part of the community of Charlottesville, besides through the value we produce through our labor. We at UVA struggle for a living wage. We remember the role that City of Charlottesville played in the previous living wage campaign. When our organizers approached you about stagnant pay, you had learned that you were not providing a living wage, so you raised your standards. The pressure provided from your action aided in pushing our demands forward. We have not forgotten this. The West Haven and 10th and Page residents haven't forgotten the role of City of Charlottesville plays in their living conditions. That's why they're here. That's why we're here, besides our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends, and community members. Will you continue to wait to apologize after you've made a profit? Will you continue to sit on your hands as if you do not have the power to change the policy that keeps community members from having more than 2 chances to speak? Or will you put up another plaque at the end of the mall, just out of line of sight of the wealthy, white crowd that LV Collective is really building these apartments for?
Thank you. Isis Newman.
Hi, my name is Isis Newman. I live in the Belmont area. Before I dive into the bulk of what I have to say, I just want to express my support for the residents of West Haven and 10th and Page, along with my lack of support of more housing for the college kids with the wealthiest parents. I also want to say I don't support SROs in our school, and I do support my unhoused neighbors and believe they are deserving of more respect than they're being treated, and I also believe I should not be able to mask. Now, the big thing I want to talk about today is flock. For starters, right now Virginia is the last state in the South with abortion access. That leaves us with a lot of responsibility to be a safe place for women and for all people who are able to get pregnant. We have seen as women have been tracked using the flock system across multiple states' lines to be prosecuted for having abortions. While I understand that our data isn't currently open access for other departments to search, that can change. The only way to make sure that flock data in Charlottesville is never used in this way is to stop collecting that data. We have seen jurisdictions in the Commonwealth use this data to collaborate with ICE and kidnap people who are supposedly undocumented. These are jurisdictions we have shared data with before and we could share data with at some point in the future. Do not set the people of Charlottesville up like that. At the flock meeting I attended, I was told by the chief of police that while Charlottesville holds data for 7 days, we have no idea how long flock holds our data or what they do with it. Call me paranoid, but I don't want an evil mega corporation to know that is helping kidnap people to know where I am. I understand where some people see benefits to the flock cameras, but I will never believe that benefits are worth the cost. While the country falls deeper into fascism, is not the time to be putting in systems of mass surveillance that can be used to exploit our citizens. So in November, when this comes before you for you to vote, please vote not to renew the contract with Flock.
Thank you. So that was the last pre-registered speak. We have opportunity for 8. I'll start over here. Would anyone over here like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sage Bradburn, and I've lived in the city many times. Right now I'm living in the Outer Ring. I didn't prepare a speech, but when I heard there was going to be talk about the homeless, I had to come because it's so distressing. We have to do more than just provide housing, just a shelter. We've got to do something about raising wages, as Andy talked about. We've got to make sure that there are jobs for people. We've got to make sure that there is access to affordable health care.
Yes.
I am a hardworking, intelligent person. I have put myself through my undergraduate degree. I had a scholarship to get through my graduate degree. But I have struggled financially, and I've struggled with severe health problems that have taken me out, forced me to leave school, and forced me to leave my career, and forced me at times to make me unable to work. And during those previous times, I was supported by my family or my husband, but damn, I've outlived them all. Now it's just me and my 22-year-old son who is like, God love him if he gets a job. So at those times, I look at these people that are homeless and I think, there but for the grace of God go I. All I need is one more climate disaster. All I need is to have a relapse, health relapse, and that could be me. And it's horrible to live in a country where that's what you're looking at. This is a cruel, cruel country to grow old in if you're not wealthy. And I just want this community to try and rally around and find solutions. And I'm tired of hearing, the Dillon rule, we can't do anything about zoning, blaming it on the Dillon rule. I know people that are calling their legislatures every day to push for issues, and I really want the City Council and the Board of Supervisors to be pushing up. We've got to be doing something about providing jobs that we can actually support, live off of. I know that that I have never been able to support myself as a single parent on my teaching salary or as my salary as an administrative assistant at UVA. I've had to have strangers living in my house share my house with strangers for the last 12 years. I've had to do manual labor on the weekend until I had to quit because of an arthritic hip. And I'm just living on the edge. And so to see people demonized who are just struggling just to get by, it is just so painful to watch. And of course, it's going to get loads worse with this current administration that we've seen. So I really hope that you can lobby for, if we can give tax breaks to Amazon warehouses and data centers, We should be able to give tax breaks to companies that provide a living wage to their employees. There should be incentives, and we should be able to give that to developers too.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone from the middle, Alicia?
Good evening. My name is Alicia Lenahan. I'm a resident of the county. We've been speaking at city council meetings since April when ICE made its first appearance in our community. The attacks on our democracy have continued and accelerated. Every issue we've raised on behalf of our immigrant refugee neighbors affects us all. Surveillance and data collection is a powerful weapon being wielded in mass deportation efforts. It has been used to sweep up citizens and non-citizens alike. While Chief Coaches touts the department's limited use of Flock, you are naive to think you can avoid the company's very public partnership with ICE and its ongoing acquisition of surveillance tools like Ring cameras. You are foolish to think you can override any decision on their part to access the data you collect. We were told that plans to install the Peregrine database are on hold. Peregrine is designed to collect and compile vast amounts of personal data about any individual whose name is entered. It's worth remembering that Peregrine is a spinoff of Palantir, a company that has received billions of dollars of government contracts for software services. Where does that contract stand? Far from being afraid of any protection offered by local government and law enforcement, the Latinx community expects you to uphold their constitutional rights just as we expect you to uphold ours. The right to privacy, the right to due process, access to the legal system, freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. The list goes on. In July, you were presented with a resolution that will provide a level of protection for our immigrant and refugee neighbors, and indeed for the entire community, by requiring that ICE agents be unmasked, display badges, present authorizing documents, and use marked vehicles. When asked why the council wouldn't even bring it up for discussion, two excuses were offered. Both are unsupported by the facts and the law. When confronted by the outrage, the council tabled an ordinance that would have made it illegal to lie down or sleep in a public place. While publicizing discussions to establish a low-barrier shelter in the future, today you're spending $1 million to further police the downtown mall. Police have quietly amped up their targeting of unhoused residents across the city, citing business concerns. You're also considering a proposal made by wealthy UVA alumni to construct a building that will make the hole originally dug to hide West Haven neighborhood even deeper. Will you let this project go forward because poorly conceived zoning bylaws allow it? I have to ask who you represent. It's not immigrants and refugees. It's not the poor and unhoused. And it doesn't seem to be the longtime residents of an historically devalued and disrespected neighborhood.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Scheinman. I am an Albemarle County resident. I'm also a member at Charlottesville First United Methodist Church. As a church member, I participate in two key programs that we offer the community. One is what we call Bread and Blessing, which is the Monday free lunch program that we serve. Whoever shows up, they get a meal. And to give you a little bit of context, we serve between 180 and 200 free lunches every Monday. Every Monday. And we're a collection of 5 different organizations downtown that serve lunch each day. And that's a consistent count for each of those organizations. And the reason I share that with you, it represents what we're seeing at the street level, so to speak, from the need of not only our homeless neighbors, but also, as people have been talking about, those neighbors who work really hard to get from paycheck to paycheck. A lot of our meals are used to help stretch that paycheck. So we are indeed feeding homeless people, but we're also feeding housed people who need that assistance to get to their next paycheck. The other thing I participate is I lead our church's effort with PACHA, the winter hosting program, as Alex spoke a little bit about. It's a load. So we house at our church each night when we host our 2 weeks, 40 men. And each evening, we do it in the middle of winter in February, we turn away maybe 5 or 6 men because of lack of capacity. We just can't go past that. And so both of these data points, I think, to me, represent or are emblematic of the need to continue to pay attention and push on, as you are doing, the need for low barrier shelter. So I'm very much in support of the work that you're doing, that's being out there, the proposal about the facility or property on Holiday Drive. I want to encourage you to please continue to lean into that and pay attention to these issues and hopefully make that opportunity come to life. As Alex spoke and has been shared before, it's not a complete solution. It is a piece of this puzzle, but it's a very significant piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone over here? Anyone in the corner? In the corner here?
Good evening. My
Good
name is
evening.
Eleanor Smalley, and I'm here on behalf of the UVA Club Friends of FAR to support the residents of West Haven and 10th and Page and reject the LV Collective construction. Here, I have handed out a one-page summary of the data we have collected from the university-wide survey Friends of FAR has conducted. In summary, we found that 89% of students are unwilling to pay more than $1,400 a month for rent. Luxury developments like LV Collective are predicted to cost over $1,400 a month, which is far beyond what students are willing to pay. The students at the University of Virginia do not want more luxury student housing. There are already many options for student housing, like the Flats, the Standard, and Lark, that have vacant apartments. The incorporation of this new apartment complex will stay empty, not only because of the ridiculously expensive rent, but also because of the proposed UVA policy that requires second years to live on grounds starting in 2030. Not only would this new building be a waste of resources, it would cast a literal and metaphorical shadow on the communities of West Haven and 10th and Page. This building will be a constant reminder to the community members about how they are constantly ignored and left out of their own city's development plans. The communities of West Haven and 10th and Page, along with the UVA student body, have expressed their disdain about this project and are tired of being ignored. We want to see a change in the zoning ordinances and justice for the communities of West Haven and 10th and Page. If we have to build student housing, concentrate student housing on JPA and stop contributing to the gentrification of a historically black neighborhood. Stop displacing the West Haven and 10th and Page residents and stop trying to remove them from past and future Charlottesville history. Thank you.
Someone in the middle here? Anyone in this?
Hi, my name is Sarah Murphy. I've worked with our community place in Harrisonburg, which is a day shelter, Kids in Crisis, and Mercy House. And I'm currently on the Nelson Committee for Habitat for Humanity, which is under the umbrella of Piedmont Habitat for Humanity, which serves 6 counties and is roughly the size of Delaware. I myself have been unhoused multiple times, once during a domestic violence relationship during COVID, during and after. During family disputes. And so I feel that I'm kind of uniquely able to speak to that, because I feel like if you look at me, you wouldn't think that. People have a stereotype of who unhoused people are. I also am someone living from paycheck to paycheck. I currently nanny here in town out past the airport for an Army family with 3 children. I rent a tiny home in Buckingham, and I also commute an hour and a half every day to get here and back. The country of Finland has enacted the Housing First in 2008. They have provided no barriers housing to the unhoused, and during that time, the recidivism on that has declined to 80%, and they are able to maintain those houses. In addition, they have seen healthcare rates for those people drop. They are provided mental health access, which is a large part of the unhoused community. They have also seen crime drop, and as well as law enforcement funding needed to be dropped as well. I just think that there are other alternatives to how we are currently treating this situation. I think that dignity is important. I have slept places that I would not want to describe to people, so I know how that feels. and for someone to be dehumanized because of that is not something that a human should do to someone else, and it is not how another human should feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone over here like to speak? Anyone over here like to speak? Anyone in this section like to speak? Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah Strauss, and I live in Belmont. I lived in Charlottesville area my whole life, and it is shameful to see this town repeat history with the gentrification and displacement of Black and brown families, namely in the 10th and Page neighborhood. Gentrification that is the result of a zoning code that does not protect our neighbors, and a luxury student housing building blocking out West Haven and the larger neighborhood's access to West Main Street, with the plans for the same impact to happen with the luxury housing building in Fifeville. Our neighborhoods and even the university need safe and affordable housing. The root of most of the city's problems stem from the deep redlining and segregation that are visible everywhere. The transportation and pedestrian paths to housing and over-policing, the deep segregation of Charlottesville that led to the raising of Vinegar Hill is here again, and at this time is trying to block out the light in West Haven. The intentional separation, displacement, and lack of affordable living is killing our communities and forcing families out of generational homes. The zoning code in this potential building is a shameful tool that is not new and needs to be stopped before it destroys another Black neighborhood. City Council needs to amend the zoning code so that longtime residents are not in danger of being priced out of their homes and disconnected from main thoroughfares. Everyone should have access to affordable housing, accessible public transit, connection to food systems, and healthcare. The displacement of and outrageous pricing of the city, along with the decreased access to local food systems, healthcare, and accessible transportation, have exacerbated the homelessness in our area. The over-policing of our unhoused and homeless neighbors is unhelpful to the betterment of our city and dangerous to the people that are surviving the same, if not worse, burdens of housed folks. The city needs to stop ticketing, harassment, and arrests of unhoused folks. The issues of housing and safety are compounded in the council's vote to renew the flock camera contract. The contract of these cameras is $3,000 each, with 10 across the city in predominantly Black and brown neighborhoods. That's $3,000 annually for cameras to send Charlottesville resident data to a database where we have no way to consent to the usage. These cameras face all around the 10th and Page neighborhood at Grady and Preston intersection, the West Main and 10th intersection, and the same applies to Fifeville neighborhood with 2 cameras at the 5th and Ridge intersection. Despite the Charlottesville Police Department's statement that the data from these cameras is not shared with external departments or federally, that is not a promise that this data will never be shared. Data once taken is always out there. The harm caused by flock cameras is not hypothetical. From the family pulled over at gunpoint in Colorado for a mistaken license plate to collaboration with ICE in neighboring states that have outlawed reproductive care, these cameras are tools of mass surveillance that are already impacting marginalized communities, and Charlottesville should not contribute to this harm. City Council should vote no on the renewal of the flock contract. The cost of surveillance and policing could be going towards community healthcare workers, transit, and affordable housing. The gentrification and surveillance and harassment of unhoused neighbors are all connected and impacting our most vulnerable community members. As folks living here, we need an affordable, accessible city that prioritizes housing and care above surveillance and inflation.
Thank you. Anyone here in the middle? Yes.
Council, my name is Frank Bechter. I'm a Fifeville resident. I certainly echo all of the comments from FAR and Joy Johnson and the students that are with FAR. I was once a sign language researcher. There's an ASL sign that's an expression that we'd all be familiar with because we have the same one in English. It's based on the signs good and enough. But do it like that, that's good enough. It's one syllable, it's very fast, and that's the point. If you do something good enough, it's kind of not good enough because you do it kind of fast. You know you didn't do all of the things you really should have done or wanted to do, but sometimes you have to do that. We all recognize that. Some things have to be done just in a good enough sort of way. But we don't do good enough when we're risking displacing a longstanding community. We don't do good enough when we're risking appropriating that community's area and things like that, as with Vinegar Hill's history. We don't do good enough when we're talking about putting in Fifeville, not next to Fifeville, but actually in Fifeville, a 600 plus bed, 7-story, potentially 7 stories, maybe more even, proposed luxury student housing building. Just as an example of how community consultation might not have been good enough. I just have this map here. My entire case doesn't rest on this map, but just as an example, it's a very nice mapping of the coding. It doesn't contain everything. You know, I'm sure there's other pages in whatever document this came from that has explanations of certain things, but here under residential mixed use, it has RX5, residential mixed use. Somebody like me who knows nothing about zoning, knows nothing about all the legalities of that, I would think, oh, well, you know, residents and maybe some mixed use. You could have like a coffee shop there, perhaps, that would help that area. That might be the degree to which any number of community members, if they were made familiar at all with the new zoning and what RX5 would mean, that might be all they had thought. If that had said instead, high likelihood of out-of-state developer building 7-story, 600-bed plus unit there by right, I think people would have objected. And so was community consultation, was around zoning good enough? I can't remember it myself. Now that's, maybe others do, but in my community I'm very familiar with just basically everyone saying, we didn't know about this. So we look for excellent community consultation in the future about zoning changes. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one opportunity for one more speaker. Any more speakers? We have opportunity for one more. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is James Snyder. I own and reside with my wife at 206B 5th Street Southwest in the Oaklawn Cottage condominium. First, I want to thank the mayor and our planning director for coming down and walking our little neighborhood. These are missing middle projects that have 6 units on 1/3 of an acre built 20 years ago by a local architect and local builder. The Oak Grove cottages, same group. The 5th Street flats, the same group. And we have historic houses like the Wade House, which is also on 5th Street, and a 100-year-old stone bungalow right next to our house. Right next to our condo is the newly purchased piece from that the Housing Authority purchased to preserve affordable housing. Unfortunately, our properties got rezoned to 7 stories. Now, that's ridiculous. And it needs to be fixed, and we have been asking for this to be looked at. When you look at the maps, which were just mentioned, they're so vague, and when you're in a place like Charlottesville, every parcel matters. It's a small town. Clearly, that did not happen. But one of the things that is going on is that you have an emergency here, and the train is moving, and you've heard from the community, this is a problem. And this problem with the residential neighborhoods on either side of West Main, Fifeville, West Haven, 10th and Page, these are all historic neighborhoods. You need emergency legislation to pause here so that studies can be done. So I've put together a draft of what you could do here, declaring an emergency historic and community protection overlay district for the Fifeville, 10th and Page, and West Haven neighborhoods. And I cite the Virginia Code. The city is vested with authority to regulate use of lands, buildings, and structures to protect health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. And where pursuant to Virginia Code 15.2, 2.306, you may establish historic districts and adopt regulations to preserve buildings, structures, and areas with historic architectural or cultural significance. And whereas the Fifeville Historic District, National Register 206, 10th and Page Historic District, which was eligible, in the West Haven neighborhood, together represent more than 150 years of African American heritage, community resilience, cultural contribution, containing hundreds of contributing structures, churches, community landmarks, and the city's largest legacy public housing community. And whereas these neighborhoods now face extraordinary redevelopment pressures, including speculative acquisitions, demolitions, and proposals for out-of-scale student housing towers that threaten to displace long-term residents and erase community character. And whereas Charlottesville acknowledges its history of displacement of black residents through urban renewal, including the destruction of Vinegar Hill, Cox's Row, and affirms its moral and legal obligation to prevent the further loss of historically black neighborhoods, and whereas the health, safety, and welfare of residents demand immediate protective measures, and by right zoning entitlements cannot supersede the city's obligation to ensure equitable, livable, and sustainable community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
A two-year moratorium where you study and actually do planning with your neighborhood. I've got copies for you all.
Thank you. So that's the end of our public hearing session for this time. We'll have another at the end. I would like to ask if someone from the UVA FAR Club, if you could leave your contact information with the clerk. I'd like to come to a meeting and hear your concerns. So if you can leave it with the clerk. So we will now go to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Number 4, minutes, September 15, 2025, regular meeting. Number 5, a resolution to appropriate funding.
So if you can leave silently, please.
Shh. From the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, FY 2026 COC Capacity Building Funds, $25,000, second reading. 6, a resolution to appropriate Albemarle County's Human Services Fund for Community Attention Youth Internship Program, KYIP, $60,000, second reading. Number 7, a resolution to appropriate funds from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association, $18,238.84, second reading. 8, a resolution authorizing payment to Kokosing Construction Company Incorporated for bridge repair contract claim, second reading. 9, a resolution to appropriate funds from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant in the amount of $150,000, one of 2 readings. 10, a resolution to reallocate capital improvement program funds for ADA transition plan work, $1,365,216.25. 11, a resolution to amend composition of the Community Policy and Management Team.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
If there's no further discussion from us, so Michael, we will vote.
Oh, heck.
Okay.
How do I get out of that?
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay, the
Sorry.
motion passes 5-0. So we're now at the opportunity for the city manager's report. Mr. Sanders.
Good evening, councilors and members of the public. Thank y'all for sticking around, because usually when I give this boring report, most of you have left, so I don't get the pleasure of the audience to hear what we've been working on. But I'm going to walk through just what's been going on for the past quarter, so July to September, to give an indication of progress that we've been making in identifying the work that is codified in the form of a work plan, so a one-year document identifying the various things that we want to make sure that get done. It's not exhaustive, it's not everything. Everybody has a work plan. This is mine collectively that has built in things that I'm working on, as well as things for the team. And my desire is to bring a quarterly update so that council and the public can see that. The theme of this year's work plan is implementing our plans, because we do a great job of planning things, and I'm really interested in us executing. And I don't know what just happened. All right, so first thing there is just to share that we are working on, nope. We're going backwards. There's something missing on that slide. Anyway, that slide is supposed to be a new org chart for the city manager's office. But for whatever reason, there's nobody working in the city manager's office. So that's a mistake. Just sharing that I reorganized the office. We had 3 deputy city managers along with myself. I have reorganized into now having 1 deputy, 2 assistants, and an assistant 2. In addition to that, we've created a chief prosperity officer and chief strategy officer. Makes the team bigger, but allows us to focus on things that we were not necessarily being able to get our hands wrapped around. It's a recommitted effort, and there's still a focus on equity. That's the chief prosperity officer, who is Ashley Marshall, continuing in that role. This is to indicate that we're hiring, so we're advertising, we're trying to fill positions. So I have 2 assistant city manager positions, a chief strategy officer position, and an economic mobility officer position that we are looking to fill right now. All of these are, again, focused on the idea of getting things done. I previously shared with council that we were reviving our employee engagement program. We'd kind of gotten off track. It was called Doing Good in the past. It's now called Thrive. That's a hint at your vision, a place where everyone thrives. This is the first event. We were able to congratulate employees who are leading by example, and those various pictures indicate the activity that we just recently had for them. We are settling a lawsuit, which you have as action item number 15 on your agenda. This was, I'm out of order already, because what I'm realizing is I was supposed to give a shout out to our city attorney, John Maddox, who started with us in May, has now actually extended his last offer to the only remaining vacancy in his office. So by December, we will have a full city attorney's office, which is an important feature for this city operation. And then I was indicating, and he helped settle a lawsuit, so that's a big deal. Some signs of progress. These are just pictures. Just wanted to show you things that we're all excited about that have been able to demonstrate that progress is possible. When you get things done, this is what it looks like. Station number 1, the new station number 1, the bypass fire station, is open. We had the chance to be there to celebrate its opening just recently. In addition, the city is now a B city. So this was the gathering of the various individuals in the community who advocated very hard to make sure that we were recognized as a B city. Within the program, our Parks and Rec and Sustainability team members are also a part of this effort and were present when we acknowledged that we had executed the agreement. We have new sidewalks going in the city. When I started this job 2 years ago, that was the biggest topic. Those were most of the questions that came my way. When are we going to get sidewalks done? Well, you see those guys in that lower picture, they all work for the city and they are building sidewalks. So we're getting these wherever we can get them around the city. In addition, new curb cuts going in, improving our ADA accessibility. We have a long way to go. So this is not an attempt to minimize how much work is left to be done, but it's just to demonstrate that when we focus, we can get things done. So that's really what this is focused on. We added this bus shelter at Midway Manor. I know Mary Carey has been waiting for it for a very long time, and she has advocated to me specifically for 4 consecutive years. So we're proud to finally be able to get that done. And we now have a bus shelter program that is to roll out bus shelters in various places in the city and the county. Yes, ma'am.
On our Saturday morning bike ride this past weekend, we biked past there, and there were people using the bench under the shelter.
That's right. That's
It's great to see.
We don't build it for no reason,
Yep.
so we hope that they're using them, especially when the weather is what it is. Urgent infrastructure demonstration. This was a big issue for us last year, identifying funds from our surplus that we made available to our transportation planning team. They've indicated, or they've actually been out there doing work. We have a number of projects that have been installed. They are working their list, trying to finish that list by the end of this year, which was the mandate that I gave them when we handed them the funds. So these demonstrations are meant to install the infrastructure, allow us as the community to use it, give feedback, and then if we determine that it works, we'll make it permanent. If we think there's some issues, we can tweak it, extend the demonstration, and then make sure that we are testing what it is that we're applying as an improvement overall. some various pictures of community events. I love moments like this, especially moments that help to demonstrate that we are a very diverse community and engaged in various things aimed at higher quality of life. I was able to be a part of the Rose Hill neighborhood block party at Washington Park, so I was asked to take a selfie, so that's what I did. Here representing the city along with the county and university as a part of the 70th anniversary of our airport. This is a moment that they hosted just a few months back to celebrate this historic moment. As one of my roles as the city manager is I serve on this airport authority, and although the city does not contribute to the airport, we do guide the future of this airport. So it's a chance for us to be a part of what happens in the air service for our region. I'm just sharing with you that I have been working to engage UVA. We've heard comments this evening. Hopefully the relationship that can be built, even in the interim capacity of both Paul Mahoney as the interim UVA president and Terry Edwards, who is the interim UVA health CEO. I have made contact. Each of them know who I am now, and we are talking. We'll continue to do that, and when permanent individuals are in the seat, I'll do it all over again. So in implementing our plans, some additional things just to kind of point out, as I previously stated to you, these are all the plans that we have: Parks Master Plan, ADA Transition Plan, and other various projects. The Downtown Mall enhancements in association with the 50th anniversary next year and the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, all coinciding at the same time. The goal is for us to be able to execute some of the things that we've prioritized in these various moments. The Oaklawn property, we are working on the lease that you all gave the approval to pursue, or at least you will give the approval to pursue, but the university has completed their process to make it possible for us to receive this property free of charge at this moment. The goal is to make sure that we can get it conveyed permanently. Mr. Maddox and I had a conversation earlier today about the timeline, and we think it'll be a little faster than what was originally discussed. We are working with the school board to discuss the idea of the pre-K center possibly going on this site, and if we can make that work, then this would be the new home of our pre-K center, and if it won't work, then we will get to consider other options. But the property will be owned by the city along with the rest of the block that today houses Charlottesville Middle School, Smith Aquatic Center, and the Boys and Girls Club. I just want to highlight the fact that the Belmont Bridge brought a lot of comment, I'll say, for how long it took to get that bridge done. One, how long it took to plan it, design it, and then to finally get to building it. And then once we started building it, how long it took to get it finished. We're now being recognized in multiple categories, multiple opportunities. And these are some of our team members who went to a conference and were singled out for a National Recognition Award, as well as a design bid build project award for what the Belmont Bridge represents in the world of civil engineering and major transportation infrastructure. So just a moment of kudos for our team for what they were able to pull off. We're working on planning and zoning. So tonight you also have on your agenda mobility policy, environmental policy, and infrastructure study and model. These are all things that are aimed at helping us get stronger at the work that we need to do. We'll continue to prioritize other improvements. Prosperity and strategy is an area that we're focusing on, just wanting to make sure that we are not just looking at strategizing about the internal operations of the organization, but also the impacts to the community. So very external in that focus as well. And my new assistant is responsible for these two areas, moving with the team members that fall under him. And homeless intervention, I've shared with you before, community interventions. I highlighted the items in blue just to continue to indicate what we have prioritized presently. With the third bulleted item, proposing a low-barrier shelter at the Holiday Drive site, which is the next item on your agenda. And I'm missing something else, so I don't know what happened in the conversion of my PDF, but I'm going to go on to the next slide. So November 3rd and December 2nd, I will be giving budget briefs, one on November 3rd on transportation plans, and December 2nd on affordable housing. This is the completion of the three-part series that aims to help get you ready for budget season. We start budget meetings next week, and we will go all the way through middle of December, I think it is, for hearing from all the departments, offices, and partners that we have in relation to setting up the new FY27 budget that I will bring to you in draft form as a recommendation the first week of March. I highlighted here in blue the things that are already identified as things that require attention to money, just to help indicate to you this is what it feels like to put a budget together. You always have a list of things, and the question is how much of it can you do and what might not make it when you finish cutting, trying to make things fit. And organizational excellence is what we're striving for, and it's all tied to your vision. So that is this quarter's update, and I will stop here and give you a chance to ask any questions or any feedback. Yes, ma'am.
On the previous slide for the affordable housing work session, I know we'll get into this on December 2nd, but as a quick preview, the Kindlewood intervention question mark, what is that?
So that is a revelation that has occurred. I'll give Nakai Walker the credit for it. She identified that there was some serious concern for the individuals who have moved back into Kindlewood being able to afford the rents in that property. There was the thought that there were specific interventions that were done to make it possible for if you lived there before, you can come back and live and you will be able to afford being there. It is complicated in that is a multi-tiered income spectrum for who lives there and the subsidies that are associated with it. Some individuals who've gone back to the property are not going back at the income level that they currently exist in. They're taking units that are at a higher income level because the income units that they're looking for are not available. So what it's causing is an inability to pay. We have found that there is significant delinquency on that project. Even though it's a brand new project, there are individuals who have not been able to maintain their rents. So we've been asked to take a look at that, and we have already prioritized that with you by asking for a study period through December to give us a chance to figure out the SISRAP program. The first item is about other fixes that we would like to make, and the question is, can we wrap in the Kindlewood intervention as a part of that?
Got it, okay. And so we'll learn like what
we would recommend.
What's the gap and how
Yep.
would we fill it and where would that money come from?
Sure, and we're still working on it. We lost our housing program manager, so we might have been able to get to it a little bit earlier than what we had originally proposed to you for at some point in December, but I've been working with the team and we're looking at trying to figure out how to have that conversation sooner. There's a reset to the program that is needed, and in that it might make room possible for us to assist some of the individuals in Kindlewood, and then the rest of the ask could be for council to put more money into it.
Okay, and are we talking about the additional phases or just the current situation?
All of it.
Okay.
It would have to include the future phase as well.
Okay.
Because if not, all we're doing is setting up yet another group of individuals to come to find themselves in the same situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That's why it's an intervention, because the goal is to stop it if we can. Yeah.
Michael, do you have any questions or anything? Comments?
No, I would just say for the affordable housing conversation, I would say, maybe the land bank topic could be expanded into just being able to acquire land for the purpose of preserving and creating affordable housing. Maybe the land bank is a good mechanism, maybe it's not, but whatever it takes to accomplish that, I feel like is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And that does remain on the list, so we have not moved anything off that particular list.
Okay. Lloyd or Brian? Okay.
Nope. Okay. All right, your next item is an action item.
Very
and
good,
that's mine.
very good list and very good progress.
Sure. Thank you. Mayor, would you like me to go ahead and do that?
Yes, yes,
All right,
please.
so the next action item is regards to the resolution. It's a public hearing as well for $7.95 million of the Capital Improvement Program Contingency Fund, surplus dollars. So these are funds that we have had that have accumulated as a leftover at the end of a prior fiscal year. The three items for which this $7.95 million is to be spent is $1.5 million for city environmental and mobility policy plans to be led by our NDS team. City Hall renovations, which is $150,000. It's a series of various improvements in City Hall that are aimed at creating additional office spaces. So it's taking a room and dividing it in two in situations like that. That's why the number is so small. And then property acquisition of 2000 Holiday Drive, $6.3 million, which includes the closing costs in regards to the acquisition of that site for the proposed low barrier shelter and additional services that could be available, all adding up to $7.95 million of the available surplus. anything else you need from me?
Nope, that was the report for the action item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before I open up the public hearing, I'll ask councilors if they had any questions or comments on the action item number 12. I'll start with you, Michael.
No, I mean, I think we've, discussed this pretty extensively last meeting.
Okay. Natalie?
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I'll say my comments if there's any
Yeah.
public hearing comments I might want to address. Thanks.
I'm good.
Yep. Lloyd?
I do have one question. Mr. Sanders, you appended to the staff report on this a copy of the capital project's contingency account history, and it shows on about 3 pages down something that's highlighted in red, Virginia Supportive Housing Premier Circle Appropriation, $750,000 not yet paid. What is the significance of that?
So that's an agenda item that has not yet come to council for you all to approve the deployment of those funds. You approved the concept originally in closing the gap along with the county at the same time.
Right.
But this would be the actual instrument for which they get the funds. It was initially set up to be a loan, so it would be a loan document, but I'm working with staff to convert it to a grant because the site has already started to go under construction and there's no reason for it to be a loan.
Anytime you put something in red and it says not yet paid, I want to know what's going on.
Yep, it's accounted for, so we have subtracted it, so we won't spend it twice, but it is highlighted in red to say that it is not resolved.
It's not yet allocated or paid out yet. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it, Lloyd?
Yes.
Okay, so I will open up the public hearing for this. Would anyone like to speak on this? Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah. You have three minutes. Is that
Yes, sir. Hi, my name is Angela Spathis. I am the owner-operator of Aberdeen Barn Steakhouse on Holiday Drive. Our family business has been proudly serving this community for over 60 years. After meeting with Sam, I have a much better understanding of the challenges the city faces in finding a suitable location for a low-barrier homeless shelter. I fully support the goal of helping those in need and addressing homelessness in our community. However, I truly believe Holiday Drive is not the right location for this facility. Our street is comprised of entirely hospitality businesses, 2 restaurants, 4 hotels, and a barber shop. By placing a shelter at the end of our dead-end street, you would be directing shelter residents directly past our entrances and through our parking areas. This raises serious concerns about loitering, safety, especially after dark, and the comfort of our guests and employees. Hospitality depends on creating an environment where guests feel welcome and safe. If that sense of safety is compromised, it will inevitably impact our ability to attract, retain customers, and sustain our businesses. The ripple effects could be devastating, not only for our establishments, but for the many staff and suppliers who rely on us for their livelihoods. We've all seen how the increase in homeless population has affected other hospitality districts in the city. Knowing this, it's difficult to understand why a site surrounded by long-standing, tax-generating businesses would be chosen for a low-barrier shelter. Many of us on Holiday Drive have operated for 50 to 70 years, contributing significant revenue to the city through meals, lodging, and real estate taxes. We ask that this contribution and our continued viability be carefully considered. There are also safety concerns for the people you're trying to help. The proposed location would bring an additional 200 pedestrians into an area bordered by some of the city's busiest and most dangerous streets and intersections, Emmett Street and the 250 hydraulic corridor. Increased foot traffic and potential increase in panhandling at these crossings would make them even more hazardous. I recognize the urgency of helping the homelessness, but that urgency should not outweigh the need to find a location that balances compassion with community safety and economic stability. I respectfully ask City Council to continue to search for a more suitable site, one that does not jeopardize the businesses and employees that have long supported this city. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. working? Is the top speaker they working? Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
And council members. My name is Anu Patel. I'm an employee at the Econo Lodge Hotel on Holiday Drive. I'm here today to express my deep concern about the proposed low-barrier shelter on Holiday Drive, directly adjacent to the hotels and small businesses that have served the community faithfully for decades. This is not about turning our backs on homeless population. We respect and support the need for services, but the location matters. The hotels in this area don't necessarily cater to luxury travelers. We serve to working families, budget travelers, and essential workers, people who may have served your food, people who may have cared for you in the hospital. Those are the type of people we serve. These are the guests we welcome daily, and they deserve to feel safe and respected. The concern is safety and security for hotel guests, employees, and the neighborhood. There are also serious risks for small businesses in the area. To name a few, reduced bookings, job losses, and declining property values, and ultimately, loss of tax revenue for the city. Currently, among all the hotels, we serve over 75,000 hotel guests per year. We are no different than any other residential neighborhood in the city. I worked at 2 hotels in this area for over 16 years now. During COVID, we also partnered with Patrim. While the intention was good, we dealt with real challenges, and the proposal brings those challenges back with no clear mitigation plan. One thing I want to ask you is, was a community impact study ever conducted for this area? Also, what security measures will be in place? How will the city handle safety-related issues and incidents in this area? There are still too many unanswered questions. I urge you to make thoughtful decisions. Please don't turn your backs on small businesses and families who have supported the city for over 50 years. We ask only for fairness, transparency, and location that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just didn't realize so many people showed up to bitch about people having a home. Like, just overnight, oh God forbid, somebody please think of the hotels. I know, I had not written out my pre-written speech, I did not realize. I want to say maybe we don't just please think of the hotels. And what if we thought of the actual people who need a place to stay at night? And I'm going to take up my whole 3 minutes, even if it ends up being mumbling, because this is not who we need to be listening to. And it's really frustrating to think, oh, we just need to find a place that works for every single person in the whole city, where every single rich fuck is like, yeah, I want them over there, because that's not going to work for the people who actually need a place to stay. We don't need to cater to every single person, because what a lot of these people want is to push these people out, and that doesn't work for the actual people who are being served. So, I'm just going to take silent time. I would rather just take up my 3 minutes. This is really frustrating. I've lived on the streets here, and I've lived on the streets in other areas, and there's no place where it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to lie down in this area, and everyone's going to be happy I'm lying here. I'm not happy I'm lying here. But at the end of the day, we need to lie somewhere. And people can be in the safety of their $200 a night hotel, and there be a shelter nearby. Those two things can exist within the same plane. Unhoused people aren't big, scary, dangerous monsters. We can all exist even if there's a hotel nearby. And I've had to get hotels, and there's lots of times when it's really hard to find a hotel in Charlottesville. It's not like we're really struggling to sell out hotel rooms. We'll be able to continue to have hotel rooms sell out, even if there's unhoused people who also have temporary shelter for the night. I don't know. I guess I've never even, like, there's like already all these unhoused people who are already near lots of hotels, and it's not like, oh no, the Omni's about to go out of business because there's unhoused people right outside. Like, they're doing fine and they're expensive shit. Like, it will be okay for all the rich people who own little hotels or get their hotels or whatever. They will be fine if people are not dying on the streets in the winter.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Wendy, and then you. Yes, yes.
Hi, my name is Wendy. I am an organizer for FAR. I also similarly don't have meticulously written remarks, but I just wanted to come up here to comment on the low barrier shelter. I defer to directly impacted unhoused people on the exact location of the shelter and what they need, but I am here to oppose the other speakers who have voiced opposition to the low barrier shelter being built on Holiday Drive. This is and always has been about prioritizing wealthy out-of-town people, visitors, hotel stayers, students, gentrifiers, all of the above. They are all of the same, over generational Black and brown residents of the city who have lived here for generations, who were forcibly enslaved in this city, and then are now being displaced from the places that they have lived. All of the issues here tonight that people have spoken about are connected. You will keep choosing to prioritize billion-dollar developments that generate stomach-turning amounts of profit. I mean, UVA literally made $3 trillion off of net hospital collections. That was the UVA health system alone, off of patient collections, net. That is insane. You will keep prioritizing these multi-billion-dollar developments, building them in the neighborhoods of Black and brown residents, building them in the neighborhoods of Black and brown communities that then attract wealthy residents who then come into our town and complain about seeing the poor Black and brown people whose homes they have stolen in the communities that they have obliterated. You all cannot keep doing this. You cannot keep letting hotel stayers and students complain about seeing poor Black and brown people when this city is the reason they do not have homes and why you have to look at them on the streets. It is also completely contradictory to prioritize tax-generating businesses, because if you all are actually concerned about taxes, the entity in the city that is not paying any taxes is UVA. They literally are sitting on $15 billion. They are making $3 trillion a year, more than that in real estate holdings. They're literally getting inflation-adjusted investments in this economy, and they don't pay a single cent to this city. So it is completely nonsensical for you all to prioritize these tax-generating businesses. Do not use that as an argument, because it doesn't hold up, because then you would have to make UVA house its students. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Wendy.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sisha Patel, and I work at one of the businesses on Holiday Drive. I'm also a UVA alumna and a long-life Charlottesville resident. I do want to start by saying that I do fully support the goal of providing housing and resources for our unhoused neighbors. This is an issue that does matter deeply to me and to our community. However, I, along with many others that are here today, have serious concerns about the proposed location of the low barrier shelter on Holiday Drive, which sits among longstanding family-owned businesses that have served Charlottesville for decades. The primary concern is safety for hotel guests, for employees, for nearby businesses, and even for those who would use the shelter. Holiday Drive is a busy commercial road right off of Route 29 and Hydraulic Road and the 250 bypass with significant foot and vehicle traffic. This presents safety risks for pedestrians and could create challenges for both shelter residents and nearby workers. Our hotels and businesses on Holiday Drive play an important role in the local economy. They provide affordable, convenient, safe accommodations for visitors to UVA and to Charlottesville. During my time at UVA, I saw firsthand how many families of students and alumni chose to stay here because of that accessibility. If safety or even perception of safety declines, it could lead to fewer visitors, lost revenue, and potential job losses, which would harm not only business owners, but the broader community as well. So that being said, I respectfully urge the council to consider consider alternative sites that could be better balance accessibility with safety and long-term sustainability. The goal of helping our unhoused community is one we all share, but the location must be chosen carefully to ensure the best outcome for everyone involved. Thank you for your time and for your service to the city.
Thank you. Shayla.
Hello, I'm Shayla Washington. I'm the Executive Director of the Blue Ridge Area Coalition for the Homeless. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but apparently NIMBYism exists everywhere. So trust me, our city staff and stakeholders have been very involved in this low barrier shelter project. We've been meeting for countless weeks. I was in a 3-hour meeting today and have more this week. We've been incredibly thoughtful about this process, and while it's not the perfect location, let's be real, no place is. At the end of the day, this conversation needs to involve housing as an end goal. People experiencing homelessness come in all forms, and yes, there are families, there are hardworking people who just need a roof over their heads. I encourage you all to have some compassion because God forbid many of you working in those very businesses could be 1 or 2 paychecks away from needing to use that shelter yourself.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I also didn't plan on speaking, but I want to share that first. I agree that folks that are unhoused should be like the main voices we're listening to when we're talking about where people should be living. Also, there are real concerns about like where a shelter should be for folks, namely like the fact that the bus wouldn't get there on a regular scale, and like we should reevaluate that. But I don't think the thing we should be thinking about is whether or not it's dangerous. No one from Potcham came and said, oh my God, it's so dangerous around Potcham. No, people just said, I wish we could house more people. I wish more people had housing, especially when it's going to be cold. And speaking about hotel rooms, especially affordable hotel rooms, there are so many people that I know and who have bought hotel rooms for the night for someone so that they have a safe place to sleep. And so saying that affordable housing or affordable hotel rooms is like only for people visiting UVA or for like businesses and stuff is just silly, because it's not true. Because the folks who are also using those hotel rooms are people who are unhoused. And so making it a space it's not going to become like a dangerous space. I mean, aside from the transportation issues, if unhoused people are there, I think going back to what other people have said of like the Omni isn't dangerous because or like getting less revenue because of people who are staying like on the streets right there, but we could be housing them and that would be so much better. I also would like to waste a little of the time because I don't think that people should just get to talk about business taxes and stuff when people are talking about how much UVA makes and doesn't get taxed. So I think that we should tax UVA, and I think that we should house people, and we should have buses go more often because people need transportation and it needs to be accessible and affordable. So, yeah, I'll give you that minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil?
Good evening. My name is Neil Williamson, and I serve as the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, a privately funded public policy organization focused on Central Virginia. The Free Enterprise Forum believes homelessness should be rare and short-lived. We are encouraged that the discussions of Holiday Drive Shelter include services to provide a hand up to the homeless. Charlottesville is clearly a caring and courageous community. Based on widespread support, including property owners and the business community, which generate the majority of local tax revenue, I come tonight to say yes and to City Council. Yes, the Free Enterprise Forum agrees with the acquisition of 2000 Holiday Drive. Yes, and we agree with the costs associated with upfitting the facility, properly upfitting the facility. Yes, and we recognize and agree with the significant operating costs of such a facility. Yes, and we stand with Greer. We believe that a properly written citywide camping ordinance can be a part of the unhoused solution. Previously, the city poorly managed the development and potential of the implementation of a camping ordinance. the entire community should have been engaged. We were not. We pushed back on the concept that such an ordinance is criminalizing the unhoused. Is it criminalizing hunger when we enforce shoplifting laws? No. Caring, courageous communities give retailers security and provide food pantries and soup kitchens we heard about tonight. Is it criminalizing transportation when carjackers are prosecuted? No. Caring and courageous communities protect the public by prosecuting carjackers and help the transportation challenged by eliminating transit fees. This council has recognized the unhoused issue is critically important to those that are a part of the vulnerable community and to those individuals and businesses impacted. We hope you will continue to show compassion and courage as you seek to find ways to make homelessness rare and short-lived.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak before we close the public hearing? Yes.
There's somebody in the back.
Get you next.
No.
Hello?
My name is Samantha Hudson. I am the general manager at Country Inn and Suites at 1600 Emmett Street North. I want to begin by saying that we all care very deeply about finding real and compassionate solutions for our unhoused neighbors. And clearly, I agree with all of you tonight. I really do. There should be housing for the homeless, but you should also think about small business owners and workers. We are living paycheck to paycheck. So the location of this site is a little nerve-wracking for us too. What I find to be most frustrating though is not the location. It's because we were never consulted. We were never spoken to. The hospitality industry has invested heavily in safety and preparedness. We're trained to spot human trafficking. We are trained to de-escalate very dangerous situations. We are trained to respond to active shooter scenarios and safety evacuation during emergencies. After all, my property is 87 rooms at full capacity. That's 200 guests, not including the staff. We understand risk. We live it every day. So I want the best for our entire community, housed and unhoused. But right now, what I'm hearing are some ideas, and I love a vision, but I would rather have a concrete plan. Show us how you're using our tax dollars to protect everyone. Bring the people who work there and who provide jobs to our community into the conversation. We are a resource. We are not an obstacle.
Shh, please, please.
I understand. So I urge you to pause, reevaluate this location, and build a strategy that truly keeps people safe, both the individuals this shelter aims to serve and the community that surrounds it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lea Leon. I live in the Waynesboro district because I got priced out of Charlottesville. And I am someone who currently works at the I am here as an individual, like honestly as an individual. I wasn't planning to speak because I don't have a lot of confidence in my ability to speak on the spot. However, I just keep on hearing rhetoric about people experiencing homelessness or some are unsafe people. However, I've been at a couple of encampments over the years, and I honestly feel like some people at these encampments have seen me more as human compared to my counterparts who are just shopping along the downtown mall and the greater Charlottesville community as just like a very privileged white neighborhood, and she just sees me as a brown person of color. And I want to talk about the encampment at Market Street Park and how a lot of people called it unsafe, filthy, or dirty, and stuff like that. But I was there, and the amount of camaraderie and community I've seen by our unhoused neighbors looking after each other, keeping each other safe, and keeping that area safe. Like, people said there was trash everywhere. There wasn't trash. People were actually making sure everyone was trying to take care of that area. Like, these are people, human beings. And yeah, they are probably the ones serving you food in a restaurant as well. They're the ones who are cleaning homes for minimal pay, and they should be respected as people because, yeah, we're all human beings. And just the rhetoric about these people being unsafe, anyone could be, I'm sorry, I'm a little activated. But anyways, in regards to the hotels being in the area, I just want to say I know countless individuals who have experienced homelessness or people who are supporting people who are experiencing homelessness pay for hotel rooms without any issue in that area already. And yeah, I can't quite think too much anymore, so I think I'm just going to end my time.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Lizzie. I live in Johnson Village. I also wasn't planning to speak, and I came late, so sorry if I'm like repeating things or whatever. But I think just in the last 15 minutes since I've been here, I think that people who are for the shelter, what am I trying to say? We're all just people. And it seems to me very clear that we should prioritize people, which means giving them housing or having them have a safe place to live. That seems really basic. If you had to choose, would you rather have a safe place to live or would you rather have I shouldn't say that. Let me try again. I think you guys have your priorities wrong if you're choosing businesses over people having basic ways to get their needs met. There really isn't anything else to it. I know that it seems in our society, if you have more money, somehow you're a more valuable person, but that's not true. We all have value. And I think that it should be your job as leaders to be the safeguard against big money having such an influence. So it's really disappointing to see how you're swayed or potentially could be swayed by people who own businesses just because they own businesses. That doesn't make you more deserving of something than someone else. And the other thing that I wanted to say, give me a second. Thank you. Yeah, I think maybe I don't know if you're clouded by the thoughts of campaign donations and oh no, what if we piss off the business owners? They have all the money, but campaign donations aren't actually what gets you elected. It's people's votes that get you elected, and I think most people that vote and come to these meetings support people having a place to stay when they need it. So I think you should consider people and not the influence of money. And I think also, the role of a good government should be to, uphold morality and safeguard against sort of, being overly swayed by these silly arguments of, oh no, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I own a giant hotel. You should get an accountant. That has nothing to do with the shelter. So I hope that you guys do some soul searching and go with a moral reason and not a financial reason.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Wade, City Councilors. My name is Tommy Herbert. I'm the Director of Government Affairs at the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. You all were very kind enough to accept a letter from us outlining some concerns with the sighting at Holiday Drive. I do not want to put you through a word-for-word retelling of that. I will only add my voice and my organization's voice to the concerns that are being voiced here by the business owners that are going to be affected by this. And I would add that while the security concerns absolutely are legitimate. There are other concerns with the site as well, including the distance from applicable transit routes, the distance from the wraparound services that we know make interventions in homelessness stick and be more sustainable over the long period of time. I would simply add, as Tommy the individual, that the city should be very, very careful in its planning that the process of adaptive reuse at the building is done responsibly, because frankly, the process of adaptive reuse for housing from different uses has been a siren song for many local governments in the past, and unfortunately often leads to greater complications. I will cede the rest of my time, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, my
Hello.
name's Francesca. I live on Rugby. I'm hearing the business owners here saying that they care for the safety of our unhoused population, but I didn't see any of them get up to speak when the ordinance criminalizing homelessness was being discussed. When me and my friends organize around the issues facing our unhoused population, and of course all of the wonderful service providers here organize around those issues, I don't see you all participating in that conversation. And I didn't hear any of you discuss the threat to safety involved in actually sleeping on the streets. You said that pedestrians are unsafe on that street, but it can't be that you warn all of your guests and customers not to cross the street. So it's not a matter of safety, I'm feeling, for the business owners here. It's a matter of profit, which is kind of the way that it always is. But the shelter has to go somewhere. And I think it's okay if just this once we prioritize people over profit. And it should be more often, but right now we're talking about the shelter. And I think it's okay for people to come first in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this? Thank you. I will close the public hearing and turn it back over to council for discussion. Mike, I'll begin with you. Do you have any comments after hearing the public hearing, the public comment?
Sure. So we discussed this last meeting as well, and I'm still in support of it, and I'm guessing everyone else is still in support of it as well. I would just note, as I did last meeting, I think it's a legitimate point that, is this the most centrally located place that there could be for a permanent year-round shelter? It's not, but it is still a 4-minute walk from an existing CAT bus stop. It is along a CAT bus route. There's certainly more transportation improvements that could be made. But I think most importantly, the Cherry Avenue location, had a projected capacity of around 50 beds. Current population of people who are homeless in Charlottesville right now is between 200 and 250, which is the same it was a decade ago. This site can accommodate more than 50 beds. So, I think it's also an important location for just meeting the existing need that we know has been there, will continue to be there. And, as I said last time, we all acknowledge this is just the very first step in a long process to building out a low barrier shelter, doing the retrofitting, connecting social services for people to get connected with signing up for IDs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. But also, the goal is to have this be an entry point where people can get connected to permanent housing and move out of a shelter. And that will require permanent supportive housing with housing vouchers and a significant investment. But I know that's the long-term vision. But I know we discussed this last meeting, and I'm still in support of it and plan to vote for it. And I think, as we heard tonight, there's literally no location in the city that is not going to garner opposition. So I think we just have to ground our decision in what is going to be the most successful intervention and what's a location that has the space to fit, enough low barrier shelter beds.
Thank you. Lloyd?
A couple of thoughts. The first thought is I've been spending time while people have been talking, looking at bus routes because of some comments that were made. It looks like there are actually two buses, Route 7 and Route 8, that go basically right by the end of Holiday Drive. But still, that's not very much. And so for the city, if we're going to put a shelter there, I am concerned that we're putting it in a place that's not easy for folks, particularly folks who do not have cars in many cases. It's not easy for them to get to. That notwithstanding, we've spent 2 years, I guess, by now trying to find a place that checks every box, that meets every criterion that we would want to meet, and we haven't found one. Which gets us, I mean, a point that I've tried to make a number of different times in my number of different circles in council. We're not starting from scratch. We're starting from a place where there have to be adaptations, where we have trade-offs. We have to have the ability to balance two things, not necessarily to prioritize one over the other, but to balance them both. And so when people talk about prioritizing, accusing folks of prioritizing business over people and saying let's prioritize people over business, the only way we can deal with governance in this world where we rely on businesses, among other people, for tax revenues, and the tax revenues that would go into homeless shelters and so on, the only way we can make this happen is if we're balancing the two. That means nobody is going to be perfectly happy with the decisions we come to. I think on balance, as we balance them, the call for a real plan is, I think, a very valid concern, and I know that's something that Sam's been working on, and I'm hoping that part of the plan would be that on some of the land there, perhaps on the vacant lot right next door, if we can work it out and avoid the easements and so on in the ground, maybe there would be a building where there could be various services offered, mental health services, drug rehabilitation, or whatever the services might be, job placement services, medical services, all kinds of things. That's got to be a part of the plan. It can't be we're going to stick them in this building that's 2 miles from downtown and 2 miles from other services and do nothing. So the plan has got to be balancing both people and businesses, the people we serve and the businesses who frankly produce the income that we serve the people with. I think this is, particularly after we've been searching for a couple of years, have not found another spot, I think that this is what we have to try.
Thank you. Brian?
First of all, Sam, I want to thank you for the work that your team has done identifying this site. No site is perfect. In my door knocking last spring, as I've indicated before, there's would have been significant opposition to any location chosen. I do think that this is a good spot for a lot of reasons. I'm confident that you'll build out a plan where not only the needs of the unhoused, which is obviously very important, but also the surrounding neighbors are also respected. I want to thank the business owners that came tonight. I want you to know that I hear you. I think that it's going to be okay. I know that's easy for me to say, but my experience in working with folks in the homeless service provision space, including Ms. Washington, who's here tonight, they are very thoughtful, very kind, very reasonable people, and our staff is as well. And the concerns that you have, I am confident that there will be ways in which they can be mitigated and your business is protected. All of you, I appreciate the contribution that you make to our city. I do think this is where we need to go and what we need to do. It's the start. I won't say it's the very start. It's a good ways down the path at this point. But there's more work to be done, and I'm confident that our partners in this service space, as well as our staff, will be able to put together a plan that will work for everyone. And Yeah.
Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, thanks. I hope that it's clear, based on the conversations that we had last meeting about when the first time this came up on the agenda, and then the conversations we've been having all year, and before I was on council, conversations about homelessness then too, is that this has been a long process, and that we are enthusiastic about this building. When this came up for sale, when our city team was able to negotiate the pricing, the inspection, we were very excited to be able to move forward with this project. I hope that is clear to people. That does not, as Brian was just saying, we are midway through the process, but now this is the first step in acquiring this building to putting together the programming that is going to be at the building. And it's not even the first step, because there is a work group that's been meeting weekly amongst all of the local organizations that deal with homelessness to come up with a plan on how to work together. Whether or not this building was going to exist, that work group was working on how to work together to improve services throughout the city. So now we have somewhere where we can apply that knowledge, that skill set, and begin to build out that programming. So there is space and room to engage with the neighbors on the street, to make sure that you're stakeholders in this, so you get to have a voice in putting together, how is this going to look? How is your concerns about safety for the pedestrians who are going to be using this area more frequently, very valid, but that doesn't just affect the pedestrians using the shelter, that's going to affect the pedestrians of your businesses as well. When you help the most vulnerable, it trickles up and helps everybody else as well. So if we can make pedestrian improvements, bus improvements, that's good for everybody. So yes, we're going to have continued discussions about safety, about programming, about use of this space. And the good news about the adaptive reuse of it all is that this is not an old building that's been sitting there forever. It was an office building used up until a couple of years ago. Which means hopefully we're not going to have major surprises. I know it's gone through a couple of inspections that our team has managed, so that it's not going to be ready immediately, we know that, but there's no sooner time than now to start getting it ready, so that hopefully it will take a bite out of the homelessness problem that we have. It's not going to be everything, and it shouldn't be everything, because when you concentrate this sort of thing, we're not able to address all of the needs. So there's still opportunities for the other spaces we have throughout the city, for a family shelter, for permanent supportive housing. We're still going to continue to look at those and building out the different levels of services that we need to provide. That being said, as Lloyd was saying, that all costs money. That has to come from somewhere. We have a general fund that gets allocated through a bunch of different places every year. We are just beginning our budgeting process. I urge you all to stick around and join us for those meetings throughout April, to see what goes into that and how we are, as we learned in August during our council retreat, we have reached a kind of fiscal stress level where we're not able to raise taxes much more before we start having adverse effects in general. So in order to spread out that tax responsibility, we need to encourage additional development. We need to encourage allowing more people to live in the city, to use the services that we do provide, so we can have those auxiliary tax benefits as well, meals and lodging and that sort of thing. So it is a real conversation, the humanity of the people that we serve. It's also a real conversation, the need to pay for the services to take care of our neighbors. So both of those things happen at the same time. That's what we're up here to do. So please continue to show up, to make your voices heard, to pay attention, and to watch us balance all of the needs of our community. But this is a big, exciting step that I know we're happy about.
Yes. Thank you, and I thank my colleagues for their comments, I would like to chime in by saying that I really believe that I have a voice on both sides. As current member of the Tourism Board, I welcome many groups, and the last thing I end with is tell them to have another meal and stay another night, because that's how we get a significant amount of our resources to do things like purchase Carlton Mobile Home Park, to purchase Dogwood Housing, but also have for the last 30 years worked deeply with our unhoused brothers and sisters to help to feed them, to house them, to find employment for them with their resumes and get to know them on a deep, intimate level. And so this is an opportunity. As said before, there is no perfect location for this. As our business owners in the city they reached out to me, I told them that I supported this, and I heard that there are concerns, and we're going to try to address those as we move forward. We're a city of 10 square miles. An opportunity like this does not come up. Of course, we would like for it to be in a different location, but we don't. There's none available. We've been trying, and this is, even today, if we start, it's going to be a while before we can retrofit the building and make the changes that we do. So we hear you. We're going to be working with you to address your concerns, but I'm going to support this. If there's no other comments, I take a motion to entertain this proposal.
So moved, but I also would like to note that the other two things on this agenda item are good as well. So moved.
It's
yeah.
been moved. I need a second.
Go with, yeah. I move adoption, can I just read it out?
Yes.
I move adoption of the attached resolution to allocate $7,950,000 of capital improvement program contingency funds as recommended by the city manager.
Second.
Second. Okay. Can we vote, please?
Nothing's showing up.
So
I voted, didn't I show?
Yeah, yours
Oh.
I'm missing one.
It's not giving the option.
Yeah. Oh, okay, it's coming up there.
Oh, there we go. Now it worked.
Okay. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a resolution supporting VDOT's revenue sharing application for a new sidewalk. Ben?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
This will be a little bit simpler. So we're going to be talking this evening about a new sidewalk on Cedar Hill Road. I'm looking to have support for the revenue sharing application that we're taking to VDOT.
Just
we can wait a second.
Yeah, we'll give it a second. All right. All right. So we're looking at a sidewalk on Cedar Hill Road. This is between Hydraulic and North Berkshire Road. There's sidewalks on both ends of this, but not on Cedar Hill Road. When we were doing our sidewalk prioritization, we identified this as a priority, and we looked at our priorities and tried to filter them out and figure out which ones are difficult, which ones are easy, which are ones that we can probably do with city funds, and which are ones that we need to go out and get some support for. This was one where we looked at it and we thought that there may be some significant challenges with this work, and that we would need to go out and get some additional funding from the state. This has been identified in our CIP in the previous year, but because it's a tier 2 priority where we knew we were going to have to go out and get additional funding for construction from the state, we're only funding the design in our CIP right now. So we have money for design, but we're trying to get money for construction from the state. Earlier this year, VDOT came to us and said, you guys are doing a lot better with your locally administered programs. We'd like you to start applying for some things. Let's look at projects that you might want to move forward with. And we said, hey, we've got a sidewalk priority list now. Let's take a look at that. We started looking through the different tier 2 priorities that we could move forward with. And VDOT pointed to this one as a really good opportunity because they are currently starting a project at the corner of Hydraulic and Cedar Hill Road, which would be a roundabout. Y'all voted on that, I believe, earlier this year on the design of what that would look like. This would be attached to that roundabout. So starting from where the roundabout would end, where that design is, down to North Berkshire Road. The other part of this is that VDOT is administering that construction. They're going to want to look at potentially lining up that construction, so this will come directly after it as sort of the last phase of construction.
Can I ask you just, what is the issue or the issues that make it a tier 2 project, that make it more expensive? What's the problem?
So there's a few things that we're looking at. Stormwater is typically an issue. I think that's an issue in this one specifically because it's on a hill, Cedar Hill. There's also right-of-way issues, not as much of a concern in this area. There's lots of right-of-way. There's also utilities that we have to look at. Partly the tier 2 is we looked at it and there were too many question marks that we couldn't answer right away. So it's not necessarily that there is a bunch of stuff that we're going to have to tackle, and I'll get to that with our cost estimate here. But it could happen. So we're trying to fill in this section that's disconnected between two sidewalks on North Berkshire Road and sidewalks at Hydraulic, and it would connect into this hydraulic project. It has a $5.2 million estimate for a 2-block sidewalk, and that sounds pretty high, right? Part of that is some of the things that we identified as potential risks, like that we may need to do some additional survey to look for stormwater and utility issues. And so there are some things that are built into that cost estimate that drive up the price that are just sort of risks that we wanted to make sure that we look at when we're doing the design. And then on top of all that, because there is so much unknown with this project, VDOT adds a 30% contingency on top of everything. So the price tag escalates pretty quickly.
But there's a chance it's not going to be that much.
Yes. So with their revenue sharing program, they will give us half the funding for the project, and we would make up the other half. So with this, we're talking about $2.5 million that the city would have to contribute towards this. It's pretty high, but as I said, it's because of a lot of these contingency factors. And since we do have some funding set aside for designing this project, the thing that VDOT is recommending is whether you do this project or not as an application, you should start moving forward with the design of it, because then you can start bringing down some of those unknowns. You can start identifying, okay, maybe we don't need this level of investment in the stormwater and improvements or in utility improvements. And so we would start working through that as we move through the application process. Eventually that would bring down the price. But right now, what they're looking for is that you would support that application moving forward. And then when we do get awarded funding, that the city would, at that point, commit funding to it. It is not committing funding to it right now. And we would be looking for putting funding into the CIP or arranging funds that are already in the CIP to cover any funding that we would need for this. And so not asking for money today, just asking for support for the application to move forward. We have already submitted the application, and this is just the last step of that.
Wait, we have submitted the application?
Yes, we submitted the application back in September, and they indicated that the next step was that we do this by Halloween.
And what is the timing after? Sorry, do you mind if I jump in with questions? Thanks. What is the timing after that? When do they award?
I should know the answer to that, but I don't. I know it's a very long assessment process usually.
Okay, so just for the...
It's not as long as Smart Scale is, though. It's not one of those processes.
Yeah, but for timing, so we've submitted the application. How much planning have we already done?
Mostly sketch level. What you've seen in the previous is sketch
Okay,
level
so we haven't done
estimates and things like
engineering
that. Right.
Stuff. Okay, and so what is the approximate timing for how long that would take?
That would depend on the workload of our Public Works project management team. They would be managing that going forward.
Okay, basically, I'm just trying to estimate, when do we think we'll know what it will actually cost?
It might take, the course of the year as we're developing the budget. This project, just for timeline sake, the awarded funds would come in 29 for this project, but because it's connected to a project they're already working on, we're talking with VDOT about potentially accelerating those funds if we're able to reduce the amount of funding that we need to request through our design work.
And the, sorry, my glasses are falling out. That, the VDOT project on hydraulic, what's the timing for that? Can you remind me?
I believe that starts next year.
Okay.
And then it goes through, I want to say early 28.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I've got.
Yep. Any other questions or comments?
So even though we're not, if we vote for this, we're not officially on the hook, but could have exposure up to like $2 million. Is that?
Could. I mean, they could also say, we're ready to award this, and you could say, we don't have the money to move forward with this at that time. That's when you would have that conversation of whether you want to commit the funds or not.
If we go ahead and go along with this now, it at least keeps us sort of.
Keeps us in the ballgame, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
One other question I had. Where does, you mentioned this fits into the sidewalk priorities list. What is it about this particular part of this particular 2-block stretch that puts it relatively high in the list of priorities?
So there are a few factors that can tie into why something ended up on the priority list. It can be traffic demand. I think that may be something that is here. It's almost works as a cut-through street through this neighborhood, and so you see a lot more neighborhood traffic coming through this area. So that's probably what drove that up. There's also things like closeness to schools, not a factor in this neighborhood. Closeness to job opportunities may be a factor because Stonefield's right down the road, but we'd have to dig into the data to see how that analysis shook out.
I'm wondering on that note, having noticed how screwed up the traffic is for people who think they want to go west on Hydraulic Road from 29, are we seeing a lot of cut-through traffic at that point to get past that no left turn?
Not right now because of the way that the traffic light is set up at Cedar Hill and Hydraulic. There's a right in, right out. So it's difficult for cut-through traffic to make that maneuver. You may see more of that when you see the roundabout go in because it won't have that blockage anymore, and that's part of the reason you put in the sidewalk to make sure that people are pulled out of that traffic.
All right, thank you.
Michael, did you have anything?
No, I think the process seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is adoption of the city.
I think you need a vote on that one.
Anything else I can help you with?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah, we do have to, do we motion this?
No.
I would make a motion to adopt the attached resolution supporting the VDOT revenue sharing application for a new sidewalk on Cedar Hill Road.
Second.
Is there further discussion?
Nope.
If not,
But let's try not to spend it all.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the motion passes
Awesome.
5-0. Thank you very much, sir.
Have a good evening.
The next item on the agenda is adoption of the City Council 2026 legislative agenda. Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, just a reminder, councilors as well as members of the public, the item included in the packet is a proposed 2026 legislative agenda. It is comprised of recommendations that were received from the Human Rights Commission, the PCOB, not necessarily PCOB this time, I'm sorry, the Office of Sustainability, the Planning Commission, and internal staff who had various work product that are related to policy, as well as conversations that have come up over the course of the past 2 meetings where council has had discussion about your respective agenda. Included in this process was a meeting with Senator Deeds and Delegate Carlson to get feedback and input from them on a preview of what the next General Assembly session is probably going to be comprised of, as well as what priorities may or may not make the short list of all the many things that get done when things are tough to process. What we have in front of you is the compilation of the information that was received, framing it in such a way that it is a set of priorities, positions, and then items for us, for this body to indicate support for. They were they are laid out by me, the best of my ability for identifying what's a priority over a position over support. by some of your comments. You are free to make whatever changes you deem. My feelings are not hurt in regards to that. It is simply a way to identify priorities as a single page, positions as a single page, hopefully, and then support of all the other things that you might want to impress upon our local delegation.
That's it?
I guess I'll say that the first, I'll go with, Councilor Ostrand indicated that the watermark makes it appear difficult to read. I've already made the note to remove the watermark from pages 2 through 6. That's the first and easy thing I can do.
Thank you.
But I mean, this has been vetted with Natalie and Lloyd, right?
Not, frankly, no.
Not the final draft.
Oh.
Yeah, of the 14 priorities, only 2 of them have we discussed. And the most
I hope we're
important
not
priority
planning to do all discussions tonight.
And the most important priority isn't even on our priority list,
Okay.
as I pointed out over the weekend.
Right, which is the question of placement. So if you have a recommendation on placement, we can make that change. The items that are in this packet are the items that were recommended by the various bodies that we solicited from on your behalf. So if there's discussion, that would be the point of you all having that conversation, which the prior 2 meetings were meant to do that as well.
Well, for example, the top priority, the very first priority, is not something I disagree with. It's something we'd never talked about, which was to seek funding for $600,000 to support the Energy Resource Hub for 3 years. I'm all in favor of the Energy Resource Hub. Everything in that does good work. I just didn't remember that we had ever talked about it needing $600,000 or that we were going to ask that it be a priority request to the General Assembly in a year when we have been told that we shouldn't be making funding requests because it's going to be, it's going to be a pretty difficult budget year, pretty difficult year financially, and B, it's not even a budget drafting year. The 2 that we have talked about to some extent on the list of priorities are sort of renewing our request for $2.5 million to support the first low barrier shelter. The second thing that we have talked about, at least briefly, was to support the Commonwealth's reentry into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. The other things are all things that, if I understand them, and in some cases I don't, sound like they're reasonable things to be suggesting, but we haven't really talked about them. I mean, my first comment is that I think that the number 1 priority, the top of the list, should be support for the passage of a bill to authorize the levying of a sales tax for a 10-year period to support school facility construction. Beyond that, I would add homeless services, $2.5 million as the second one, because we have actually talked about it. And beyond that, I don't really have a lot of opinion, frankly, about what ought to happen next, because I don't have any sense of how they all fit together.
Brian?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. I thought this was coming to us as something that had been sort of I agree with Lloyd that the piece about the schools, the money for the schools, having that option is something that I would want to see as a priority. I agree that bullet point 2, homeless services, to provide funding for the amount of $2.5 million to support the city of Charlottesville. I would like to see that as a top priority. I would also like to see the item on transportation to provide funding the amount of $3.5 million per year for 3 years, because that would be, as it says here, a bridge to let CARTA get started. So those are the 3 things that I would put at the top of the list in terms of funding priorities. In terms of other initiatives, I think the one I'm most interested in is supporting our getting back into RGGI.
So I had, when I noted my question about the watermark, I'd also noted a couple other questions. Apologies for it being kind of late. But the human rights policy about permanent supportive housing that's listed twice, is that intentional?
No.
And which section are we actually asking for it to be in?
Wherever y'all want.
Because right now it's under two places. It's on the policy section for human rights, and then it's also down on the positions section for human rights. And then the other one is that for planning and zoning, it kind of looks like the, apologies for my sniffles as well, the 58.1-3221.1 to add Charlottesville to the list of localities permitted to tax improvements is the same as the second to last one on the same page that cites Delegate Hudson's adjustment. Are those different?
No.
Okay, but they're both in the same section, we just don't need them twice. So, I had a couple other notes about just style, but we can keep that internal. I'm sorry. It's getting worse. So, I'm trying to think of how this year we did better than last year, but it's still kind of difficult to come up with this list because we're consolidating it from several different departments within the city and the planning commission, and then
The answer is we need more time, and
well, I
we
think
will do that.
I think maybe we need to have like a poll where we all get a chance to rank what value is this for us, and from that we select the top page.
Well, one of the things we had.
What is the best strategy for everybody to chat about this?
I mean, I'm not sure what the best strategy is now, but you will remember that when the various, let's say it was sustainability, the Planning Commission, and human rights came before us to say, here are our legislative priorities, we asked them, go back and give us 3 of that list that are top priorities for you. And the Planning Commission said, we can't do that. And I think, and I don't know that we ever got it from either of the other two as well.
Sustainability did a good job with citations for bills that were already involved.
Right. I don't remember whether in that proposal they had suggested, that they had told us that they were looking to have the state give us $600,000 to the Energy Resource Hub. Do you recall that? I don't remember it. I mean, I'm
We
just.
discussed that last.
I'm sorry?
Meeting. We discussed that last meeting. You know, they didn't present us like a detailed work plan of it, but there was a member of the climate team who informed us of that ask and kind of the purpose of it.
What is our sort of timeline for when we want to have a final product to deliver?
Today.
And we got this Friday.
You had previously gotten the entire packet on 2 different occasions.
We never got this list until Friday, I don't think.
In this format, yes, that is correct.
We've gotten it in all the pieces from the different.
From each of the groups.
The document that we are being asked to approve was first presented to us at 5 p.m. on Friday.
That is correct.
And it's got things in it that we've never seen until now. That's nuts.
What's the council pleasure, Lord? I support your 2 top priorities, and then outside of that, like you,
We have in fact talked about the reentry into Reggie. I don't have a problem with that being on a list of priorities. I also, I don't know, beyond that, I mean, there's some specific things that I don't know whether we as a council have discussed, but I've at least heard the Planning Commission discuss. And I think I understand, but I'll give you an example. I don't really know what it means. We've got here as a priority, support legislation that creates a robust distributed energy resources environment to achieve both grid reliability and climate goals. I mean, those are nice buzzwords, and I think I kind of get what the idea is, but I have no idea what the proposal would actually be. You know, I just,
Okay, so
have
initially we'll
heartburn
do
over
it different,
that.
but we have to approve something tonight, so
Yeah, and
we
the-
understand your concern, Lloyd, but we have to approve something tonight, so.
The 600,000 energy resource hub was on the sustainability priorities last meeting. So we had each of the groups on separate docs. And then this doc basically just pushed them all together into one PDF.
Maybe I zoned out when they mentioned $600,000, I don't know. I mean, so my proposal is we move the school priority up to the top of the list. We have this homeless services for $2.5 million as number 2. We have Reggie as number 3, and beyond that, I
think
don't
we need
much
to try to
care.
get the Carter one as a top, like the third, maybe not the first or second.
I think a
We're talking about
question
funding.
is, all of the ones that that are currently on the priority page, the first 3 are all funding requests. Is this a funding request year?
It
or
shouldn't
not?
be. We were cautioned that it should not be.
So would these be priorities or would these be positions? And I will acknowledge, these are probably meetings that Lloyd and I should have thought harder to have in advance.
Well,
It's your definition on what's a priority or a position. This is not a form, a template that you're submitting, so that's a question that you all have to answer. What would you like to list on the priority page? I can list these 4 items, and that is a very short priority page. Your position page, if you identify what those items are, I can reset that page. Everything else can drop to the back, and anything that you don't feel good about can be removed from the document.
I think that we just keep it as priorities, funding requests, even if we're not funding anything this year. The notion would be we'd like to get funding the following year. And I think that the school capital program should be on there, the homeless serviceness, and the transportation piece for CARTA. I think that the $600,000 for the Energy Resource Hub should be lower on the list than those other things. And I think that, all the other things that are on here are, the only other thing that I would add is getting, that we would support being reconnected into Reggie, that Reggie be something that is resuscitated, I guess. Beyond that, all the other things on here I think are lovely ideas, but, support data center reform legislation. Well, I think that's a great idea. Whether that's something that needs to be a priority for Charlottesville City Council to be on the front line of, I don't see that.
There are a few things on here that we talked about last year. For example, the bill or the proposal to amend 55.1-1308.2 to make it easier for residents of mobile home parks to buy their property. That is something we talked about in some detail last year. We just haven't talked about it this year. The discussion about 58.1-3221.1 and the list of localities permitted to tax improvements to real property, we did at least talk about one time. And I think people expressed the general idea that that would probably be a cool thing.
Okay.
So you just want me to tell you the ones that I think should be on the front page? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
So I think on the front page should be the homeless intervention for 2.5, the transportation for 3.5, the 1% sales tax or whatever it is for the school construction, and getting reconnected or getting Reggie reinvigorated. Those are my 4 things.
Yeah. Lloyd, are you?
I'm great with that, and listing those. We always said we wanted to have priorities fit on one page.
Do you have any more to add to that?
Not as priorities, no.
Okay. Now,
Michael's been trying to jump
Yeah.
in. If you want to go first, Michael, before me, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine to have the, one-page priority that's funding for homelessness services, transportation. If we want to include Reggie in that, that's fine. I would just make a plug for keeping the $600,000 for the Energy Resource Hub. That is a request that came from our climate staff in response to the feedback of are there any requests that are Charlottesville specific that aren't bills carried by Democrats in Northern Virginia that are going to pass no matter what? And that's what they came back to us with and kind of explained their rationale. They're also working with Albemarle County to see if they can have Albemarle join us in a request. And it's a very clear purpose for a local program that relates to greenhouse gas.
And so I will second
Okay.
Michael on that.
So
I agree with that.
That's the fifth one. You have anything else, Michael?
That's it. I would just plug to keep that and
Okay.
find to have Reggie in there, and then that'd be the first page, and keep the additional things with the revisions of removing duplicates that Natalie brought up.
Natalie, do you have anything other than to add to those 5 for the priorities?
So to recap, the 5 are the education,
The one-
sales tax,
Yeah. Mhm.
the getting back in Reggie, and then those top 3 that are listed there.
Correct.
The page the day of, or the, yeah, I think let's go with that. I would say this is the $600,000, that, the paragraph probably can be condensed a little bit, but if we needed to fit a couple more things on the page and keep what's still on the page there from the human rights team, if we're scooting up schools and scooting up Reggie to the top page and keeping everything else, if we could fit all of that and kind of condense that paragraph, it's a little descriptive. I mean, I know it's important what's all in there, but in order to get it to fit on one page, and then I think we're good.
Can I ask a question? Who will be formatting the final document? Okay. There's usually a document for me to certify or at least have to reference in case there are requests for it.
I'll give it to you.
So can we pass that as amended?
Yep.
What are the amendments?
Well, we're not done. I mean, that's your priorities page.
Yeah. And then if we leave everything else the same?
If that's your motion, then I
Yeah.
can make that happen, and that'll be what you need to approve, and then I'll have that to the clerk tomorrow.
Okay.
So, Michael, is that okay with you?
I'm fine with that.
Yep. Okay. Lloyd?
Did Natalie ever get back to her opportunity to weigh in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went to Michael.
Oh,
Yeah.
I consolidated.
So, Sam, are you
Thank you.
clear on what we?
So do we need to have a formal motion, or?
Yes, if you make your motion to identify what your top 5 priorities are specifically.
I would move to approve the 2026 legislative agenda with the first page of priorities being funding for homeless services, transportation, the LEAP Energy Resource Hub, the sales tax legislation to support schools, and then rejoining Reggie as the top, and then keeping all the other positions with the revisions Natalie had mentioned about just removing duplicates.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? If not, can we vote on it? Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you all for that. Thank Natalie and Lloyd for their work on that committee. The next item is a resolution authorizing the agreement with to settle White versus Charlottesville City Council. Mr. Maddox.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is John Maddox. I'm the city attorney, and it's my great pleasure, descending from my Statler and Waldorf perch over there, actually I think maybe the first time, to present to you a resolution which would, if authorized, would authorize the settlement of the White v. Charlottesville case, or colloquially known around town as the zoning case. Before I get into the details of the settlement proposal, I want to give a little bit of background on the case for those who haven't been following the action to date. So in 2021, following a lengthy process, the city adopted a comprehensive plan which outlines the vision of the community for its future growth and its development in regards to land use. That was I understand, I wasn't here at the time, but I understand it was quite the vigorous and well-engaged in process, and it was a lot of questions were brought to the table, a lot of questions were ultimately answered by that comprehensive plan. That was followed up in December of 2023, which again was after a lengthy process and involved significant opportunities for community input. The council adopted a new zoning code, which we have been referring to as the new zoning code. That was in December of 2023, and it was slated to go live, and did go live in February of 2024. Now, in January of 2024, members of the community brought suit alleging a number of claims related to both the comp plan and the new zoning ordinance. Specifically, they are alleging that the ordinances, the comp plan and the ordinance was void for failure to comply with certain procedural requirements. Most significantly, a failure to submit information to VDOT under a specific state statute, 15.2, 22, 22.1, for those who are following at home, and as well as another statute which requires the city to evaluate and assess certain infrastructure capacity questions prior to adopting a new zoning code. They brought that suit in, as I said, January 2024, and in December of 2024, the court actually narrowed down the issues in that case through a motion that the city brought. It's called demurrer, and said that the claims relating to the comp plan were not timely brought. That was done back in 2021. This was not timely done, and dismissed those claims, but allowed the claims to proceed as to whether the city failed to comply with requirements to submit things to VDOT, if those were in fact requirements the city had to comply with, and allowed the question about whether we adequately studied our infrastructure capacity prior to passing the zoning ordinance. There were some follow-up motions that the city filed on some questions of law, a little bit more back and forth, but ultimately the next major milestone, I will never forget it, I was sitting right there, I was on June 2nd, I was about 2 items away on the agenda before you appointed me city attorney when I got the email that the plaintiffs in the case had filed for default judgment because our Gentry Locke, our law firm who was representing us in the case, had failed to meet a pleading deadline. That, of course, led to quite a bit of dramatic action over the summer, but ultimately we were able to get the court to reverse the default judgment ruling, and so now that brings us to the state of play we stand at today, where we have roughly a year. In September of 2026, we have a trial scheduled, an 8-day long scheduled trial on the calendar. In between there, we would have to conduct significant discovery, including depositions. We would have to get our experts up to speed on the case. We would have to depose the plaintiff's experts. There's a lot of litigation that would happen between now and September. And then that assumes that there wouldn't be any further appeals necessary after that case. And of course, and while I feel strongly that we have a very good argument that we comply with all the procedural and legal requirements, it would be costly to get there. So that kind of brings us up to speed where we are. Now, roughly a month ago, one of the plaintiffs in the case approached Mr. Sanders and said that the plaintiffs would be willing to settle the case if the city would agree to conduct the studies that are ostensibly required under 15.2, what the plaintiffs allege are required under 15.2, 22, 22.1. And we, at first, I must admit I was a little skeptical of this offer, because we previously made this offer. In July of this year, I sat down with counsel for the plaintiffs, and we offered just that, and it was rejected. Now, litigation posture was a little bit different then. I don't fault them for rejecting the claim at that time. But I'm happy to say that they've now come back to the table with that same offer, and we've, after some back and forth between plaintiffs' counsel and myself, we're able to reach a settlement that I think the city can fully comply with its obligations. I know the city can comply with its obligations, and I think is the best outcome for us in this case. I think this is a fantastic outcome for us in this case. It's going to save us a lot of money. That's what I think this is going to do. And a lot of time. It's going to bring a lot of stability and reassurance to our development community and help us really move forward with some clarity and purpose around our zoning. So with that said, the agreement deal is in the packet that was presented to council. I think the resolution spells out what we would be agreeing to do, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Michael, I'll start with you. Have any questions on this resolution?
It's in the packet, but just for the community's benefit, what is the timeline by which the city needs to conduct these VDOT analyses as part of the settlement agreement?
So that's an excellent question, and the answer to that is within 30 days of us actually getting a signed agreement, we would need to schedule with VDOT a scoping meeting. That is a meeting to, well, we look at what the scale and scope of what these studies are we're going to have to submit is going to look like. Once we have that in plan, we have 120 days from that scoping meeting to conduct those traffic impact studies as outlined in the agreement. We then have additional 30 days to provide that to VDOT following the completion of the traffic impact studies. And then there's some back and forth with VDOT, Imagine in there, but those are the obligations we would be signing on to. Now, immediately after me is the Statler to my Waldorf up here in the little galley. James Freeze is going to bring you a motion or a resolution to appropriate funds that's going to go towards this study. I think it's important that we're asking for $650,000 to conduct a number of studies. That is not the cost of conducting this particular study. It's not a $650,000 study. It is going to be, I can't say what with exactitude because we have to have that scoping meeting with VDOT. However, I do think it's going to be far, far south of $650,000 to conduct that study, whereas the cost to litigate this case is going to be far, far exceed $650,000 if we were to go through trial, through appeals.
Thank you, Michael. Lloyd, do you have any questions?
Nope. Sounds good to me.
Yep. Brian?
Thank you all for your very diligent work in getting this resolved.
Yes.
I think we're in a much better situation than we feared we might be.
Natalie, you have a question?
Also, just for the benefit of the public, how closely have we worked with VDOT on this? Are they ready for us? Are they, we've had some issues with getting our work done in the past. VDOT is now much more amenable to our work plan. How are they going to be as partners in this project?
Well, I can't speak for them, but we have had some preliminary conversations that we found very promising. I will say this is going to be a unique project to be undergoing these kinds of studies, this kind of scale, so the scoping is going to be important. As I said, I don't believe the statute that is in question here was exactly meant for this situation that we find ourselves in. It wasn't meant to deal with the comprehensive situation where a city has actually repealed this entire zoning code and put in a new zoning code and a new map on top of that. So we're going to be working through some issues with them, but I've had every indication that they're going to be good partners and work with us on this. I'm optimistic.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. No other questions.
Neither here. I just appreciate the work that you all did to make this possible. And I think it was Roy did a lot of work with you to help with to get the.
If I could just do some shout outs real quick. Our NDS staff, members of our public works staff, Brendan Duncan and Caleb over there in the traffic engineering did just a yeoman's work as we had to fight off the default judgment. And Rory Stolzenberg, we have a key to the city around here we could give him. I would appreciate it. The guy did just incredible work for us.
I think he has one, doesn't he?
Well, if he doesn't, he should. And in future years, I might be coming to you with a budget proposal, pay for Rory to go to law school so he can then join my office.
Yeah.
That's how impressed I was.
Yeah.
So really, it was a group effort. And then Mr. Sanders is bringing it home, working out the final deal with the plaintiff. So
yeah,
it was good work on all over the city.
Thank you so much. So let's get a motion, and we've asked you to make sure that as best we can, all particular angles from this agreement that it's possible, and we believe we've covered it to, so I think we're ready.
I would move resolution authorizing the agreement to settle White v. Charlottesville City Council as presented in the agenda packet.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? If not, if we can take a vote. Okay, the motion passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is a resolution to allocate $650,000 of capital improvement contingency funds for the infrastructure study and model. Mr. Freeze?
All right, good evening, Mayor Wade, members of council. James Freeze, Deputy City Manager. As was alluded to just a moment ago, we bring before you this evening a request to allocate $650,000 towards a set of studies and ultimately a growth and development model. The intention there is really something that staff has been talking about for some time, about what would it look like as we anticipate growth and population increase in the city, to create a model that will allow us to anticipate or project what different infrastructure or public service needs might be associated with that growth. In part, that was coming out of considering the notion of doing these studies in an attempt to settle or address the lawsuit. And as we as the scope of work has developed over time, and we're still refining that scope of work, it's inclusive in that doing the actual VDOT studies that would be required. As was mentioned, we still have to go to a scoping meeting with VDOT and work through a final scope for what those VDOT studies would look like in particular. But the anticipated price tag we have right now is for $650,000. I am hopeful that as we move through this scoping process with VDOT and as we refine the scope for the growth model and the associated studies with that we'll be able to bring those prices down. But we have a timeline that we have to operate under. This is the price tag we have right now. As we're able to bring those prices down, we'll be able to return funds to the CIP contingency fund.
Okay. Further, Lloyd, do you have any?
No questions.
Brian? Do you? Michael, any questions or comments?
No, just to highlight, as you already stated, that the goal is to have, these studies serve multiple purposes, not only meeting the terms of the settlement agreement, but to also inform transportation infrastructure the city makes more broadly to kind of, hit multiple goals at once. So just highlighting that.
Absolutely. And we anticipate that the outcomes of the study will be useful, in particular to some of the upcoming plans and studies we already have identified.
Natalie?
Is there reason, I know we're on a timeline with regards to the lawsuit that this is attached to. Is there a reason why we would overestimate and then come down as opposed to estimate and then need to come back for more later?
It's what we're working with is we have a scope of work that's been prepared for us, and this is the price tag associated with that scope of work. We are negotiating that scope. We want to bring it down. I appreciate the question, but we also need to, I believe this is a 2-reading item, and we need to get under contract so that we can move forward with that scoping meeting in particular with VDOT. So
2 readings?
Yes.
This is asking us to vote on it tonight, but.
No, it should be 2 readings.
It's 2 readings, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm not pushing one way or another.
No, and I appreciate that. And all things being equal, I'd much rather be bringing a final number than being where I am right now. But we're trying to move this item forward. So all I can do is assure you that we are looking very carefully at the scope, working to bring the price down on the overall project. We're going to be working with VDOT to refine the scope of that portion of the project to what we actually need to do. And I've got Sam watching very, very closely because he's got other things he would like to use the CIP contingency funds for. So,
but we've got to do this because of the lawsuit.
Right. We want to move forward.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't get spent, then it'll be reclaimed.
Yeah.
So can we put this on the consent agenda on November the 3rd? Anyone have any issues with that?
Fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
So, Ms. Thomas, if you can put it on the consent agenda, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir. The next item on the agenda is any questions, anything on the written reports?
Just a highlight for the community that's something they can read and check out about significant infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, in the category of general business or following up on whatever else we've heard and talked about this evening, now that we are on track to have settled the lawsuit, for the last couple of years when we've talked about having perhaps some amendments to the zoning ordinance, we've said, let's get this lawsuit behind us. And now I think we're getting there. And the question, I guess, is given what everybody has been talking to us about, do we want to revisit the question that allows by right projects such as the LV Collective project, such as the 7th Street project? But if we were to do something we would about those, as we are being asked to do, we would have to amend the ordinance. And I know this this is a topic that we talked about sort of towards the tail end of the process of adopting the zoning ordinance. I remember at least one discussion where I had made the suggestion that we basically say up to 5 stories by right, and anything over 5 stories would require a special use permit, and that didn't get any support from the rest of you guys, and we basically wound up with what we have right now, which we're hearing complaints both as to the 7th Street project and as the LV Collective project on Main Street, which at the moment, as our zoning ordinance is written right now, the city council does not have the power to affect.
Right. I thought that we were going to, look at revisions at a, kind of a couple of different levels. One, it might be some grammatical errors, this instead of that. But then we were going to, do the major changes,
There's that work plan.
Well, yes, we did in fact have that discussion, but I think it's becoming clear that if we adhere to that timeline, it may well be a year or so before we would get to those broader philosophical discussions, and I'm not sure that that's a good idea given the way that the market is moving at the moment. I mean, if folks don't want to revisit it, that's fine, but I think that we may find things happening in the meantime that we say we have no power over simply because we don't want to reopen that.
I don't think we're ready for that conversation because the market hasn't gotten a chance to actually do what it has done, what we've engineered it to do. The zoning code lawsuit has held up development because, and I've heard this from people trying to build, because they're not able to get the financing to build those larger projects throughout the city. So we haven't seen it exist yet in the state that it's intended to. So, I mean, I know there's certain things that I want to adjust about it, even though we haven't seen it exist in its natural state or in its designated state, like encouraging more mixed-use commercial. I'm keen on getting that sorted. But I think we can't say, given where the market is going, because the market has been constrained by the lawsuit so far.
Well, I'm not worried about how the market has been constrained.
We've
I'm
just
worried
got
about
people who come to our meetings for the last month who are really animated about this topic, about the LV Collective in West Haven and
Excuse me, 7th Street
Council.
project.
This is all good discussion. It's not currently on our agenda.
Right.
So I worry about having a conversation.
Okay.
This detail and this much.
That we haven't
the public has
advertised.
not received notice of it. So it might be something good upon the next agenda item or a future agenda.
I think it's a fair point.
And I think maybe what we should ask for is, now that the lawsuit is going to be not a thing that NDS has to hold their breath on, that we get an update on the work plan that they had presented us in the past about the 3 tiers of adjustments and the timeline for that. And I think that would be the way to open up this discussion.
Well, I think, yes, I agree, but there are pretty vocal folks in the community who want specific response on this particular topic sooner than later, it seems like.
Well, I would just say I think we should, have it at an upcoming agenda to discuss revisiting portions of it at a faster cadence than, a work plan that may take a year plus to make any changes. Because clearly we're hearing from residents of West Haven, 10th and Page, Fifeville, about concerns where they want an more immediate response. And whatever decision we come to, whatever the rationale for our decision, I think it's clear that the community expects us to have that conversation, and to be transparent about our thinking and whatever decision we ultimately come to. So I do hear, I just agree we have to discuss it at a faster cadence because we've heard these concerns for a few months and they're not going to go away. When some sort of deliberation and response, I do think is owed to West Haven and 10th and Page and other communities. And when we passed the zoning ordinance, we said, like all zoning ordinances, it's a living document. There have always been zoning text amendments that happen outside of the cadence of comp plan updates. So anyway, that's just my perspective.
And I know I always forget this number. Can you remind me how much has been put in the CIP for the West Haven redevelopment?
15 million.
15 million so far. Thank you.
What I can offer at this moment, just looking at the schedule, I can shift things around and carve out time within your November 3rd work session to provide you the space to have the discussion. I can't see James because of this wall in front of me, but I would imagine that means that he would need to get with Ms. Brown to figure out how we frame the conversation for you to begin, just targeting the couple of things that you're talking about tonight based on comments that you've been hearing. And maybe that is a way to use that small amount of time to just focus on
At
you
the
all
4
having that
o'clock?
conversation as a
Yeah.
part of your 4 o'clock
Okay.
session next time.
Yeah, so if you could dedicate some time to that, that'll be great. Okay, any other questions or comments on the general business? If not, we're at the last opportunity for public comments. Would any, yes.
Okay, I had a couple comments and then also a few questions. So I wanted to say thank you for moving forward with the low barrier shelter. I also just wanted to downvote the comments of, oh, we haven't seen the zoning used in its natural state where we get to push out more of the Black and brown residents. I had 3 questions. From when you guys were talking about the priorities, what is Reggie? I know that you kept bringing up that was something that you wanted high on the priority list, and I was not sure what that is.
Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative,
Okay.
RGGI.
Thank you. And then I was wondering, for things that are put on the consent agenda, that the first reading is on the consent agenda, how do we see more information on that? Like the ones that it's the second reading, I've just been going back to look at whenever the first reading happened. Ones that are put on the consent agenda for the first reading, how do we find more information on those topics?
So I mean, Ms. Thomas, the agenda is
The packet has all the information on the first reading.
So the consent agenda will be listed in a consolidated format on the agenda
Yeah.
item, but then you can click on the side here and find a full detailed
Okay.
breakdown of each of the items.
And then the November 3rd work session, when you guys are going to talk about the issues with the zoning, is that something people are able to
they can come, but
watch?
it's not a
It's not
public hearing.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else yes?
Hello, I also wanted to thank you for approving the shelter and all of the thought and care that you put into finding a location and also not giving up. That was probably hard, so thanks for doing that. And then since I'm here, I wanted to voice my suggestion that whenever it comes to vote about Flock, we don't need to fund Flock anymore, the cameras that surveil people. I think my numbers may be wrong. I didn't bring my phone, so I couldn't fact check myself, so please fact check me. But I think that it costs $30,000 for 1 year of the Flock monitoring system. And I believe that the only thing that it caught in the last year was a few stolen cars. So what if, this is a crazy idea that you're not gonna or do, but just to show you that there's a myriad of options you could choose from other than criminalizing people, what if you spent that money on a loaner car? And Charlottesville just had a loaner car, so if anybody's car got stolen, they could borrow the car. So then if it took 2 or 3 extra days to get the car back, they wouldn't really care because they had a loaner car. And there's probably extra money in it. You could pay somebody part-time to I don't know, take the loaner car for oil changes. There's just, I guess I'm just encouraging you to think creatively about how you can help people rather than surveil and criminalize. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Roy, we're giving you some kudos for your work on the planning commission and help with the case, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I was on my way here before I heard you guys say all those things. I almost went home instead of having to acknowledge them. But thank you all. I appreciate your words. I wanted to come here today, prior to that, to just congratulate you all on reaching this settlement and to thank staff for their hard work on it. But especially to thank you on council. As you all remember, this has been a long process going back to 2018 in the aftermath of August 12th and even earlier, where we decided as a community that we wanted to really commit to affordable housing with our affordable housing plan, to creating more housing broadly, to help bend down that cost curve of housing in the city with our comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. And to make that historic commitment of not just the $10 million a year in funding that we've committed, but also to redevelop all of our public housing and PHA affordable housing sites with resident-led redevelopment and a really, by the numbers, unprecedented across the country commitment to that. And to create lots of affordable housing, both integrated into our mixed-use market rate developments, and via that affordable development through both the funding committed through the general fund and the substantial amount of money that we plan to get from existing student housing developments in lieu fees and for future student housing developments. And again, thank you all for your steadfast support of those underlying goals of vastly increasing our affordable and overall housing stock within the city. Congratulations again on finally this zoning ordinance hopefully being finalized pretty soon. Knock on wood there. And thank you again for your continued commitment to the goals we all agreed on through that long process.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to speak? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say yes.
Aye.
Yes.